Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the following program. I am your host, Joe Neerman, a.k.a. Good Lawgic. Yes, it's a law channel uncivil. It's a law, politics, that sort of thing. Already getting flack from some of my brethren in the sphere. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. Tonight, the fixation is going to be primarily, almost exclusively, about the Senate Judiciary Committee conducting a hearing of who is anticipated to be future Attorney General Pam Bondi, state of Florida. Pam Bondi went in there today facing off against some hostile questions and really showed a little bit more teeth than Pete Hegseth showed yesterday. She wasn't just taking it. She was like basically calling out BS where she saw it without any hesitation. I think it's possible she felt a little bit less encumbered by the threat that maybe some of these Republicans were going to turn on her. There has not been much in the way of pushback against her or Marco Rubio, who appeared today for his confirmation hearing with respect to his potential becoming next Secretary of State. Neither of these candidates received much pushback from the Republican majority. So I think that they're both feeling very confident that these confirmations are going to happen. They are going to be successfully, they're going to get successful, and they'll be successful in obtaining a majority. And accordingly, I think that Pam was unabashed in her criticism of some of the senators, particularly the senators on the left, particularly those, because she's like, I don't need your stinking vote, and I'm not going to bend the knee for you. So, yeah, she was feeling it. Some of the Republicans who were going to seek him out there, some of the rhinos came out and questioned her, revealed some of their rhino hide. You could see like the gray leathery skin, a little horn sprouting out of them. One in particular that I have in mind that we're going to see who's questioning her, that I was just like, dude's a rhino. This is a classic rhino. Proposed Bondi for defense and Hegseth for AG. That would be awesome. That would be watching him try to go after them. Well, and also questioned as to whether she's going to be looking at some of the abuses from the previous AG's office, the previous department, but the Biden DOJ, and frankly, considering the fact that Joe Biden himself said that his DOJ was weaponized, I think it's important that she should investigate and, try and root out all the corruption that Joe Biden identified himself. He said there's corruption. I would agree with him on that assessment. I think there's a lot of corruption in the Biden DOJ. He also gave his farewell address. I thought about covering that with you. And I have to tell you something. It's very hard to enjoy it. The entire time, I actually get angry. I get angry listening to that old man prattle on and on, which is why I put it up for a vote. Because, look, it's a farewell address. This is the last time that the world is going to hear him speak. And I was like, I don't want to deprive some of my listeners out there who are thinking like, wow, I want to hear my president speak. Because I'm going to tell you something. Yeah, he's your president, but he doesn't consider himself your president. No, he doesn't. And while he gave a message that's purportedly unifying, I will never in my life forget. I will never forget that this man, standing as president of the United States, addressed the nation and referred to Ultra MAGA as the biggest threat to this country. Which is, to me, that's saying I'm not Joe Neerman's president, because I'm sure he would qualify me as being ultra MAGA, even though I don't know what that term means. But I'm fairly certain I would fall into that category. So I have a hard time looking at him as being a unifying president or a president who is anything other but a divisive, self-interested, corrupt, terrible human being who happened to sit as our commander-in-chief for these past 4 years, which thankfully are coming to an end on Monday. I still don't have tickets to inauguration. I'm going down there. I'm going to be like scouring the streets of DC trying to get my hands on an inauguration ticket. Still no luck so far. I appreciate a couple of you out there who have actually been reaching out to other folks trying to get your hands on a ticket for me. So far, it's been to no avail. I thought about writing them even and saying, dude, I literally filed a lawsuit to get you ungagged. Maybe just at least a ticket. Nothing crazy. I literally filed a lawsuit to get your gag removed. I think I don't know. Of all the yahoos who are getting tickets, not if you have a ticket, you're a yahoo, but I've seen a lot of folks who are yahoos who have tickets. And I'm just like, I don't know what steps I got to take. Even Lady Lawgic's out in the action. She's been trying to like wrestle a ticket out of folks, but hard to come by apparently. Anyway, we did win a lottery though. That's what we found out. I won a lottery, just not this particular lottery, but today we won a lottery. And I'm in negotiations with the wife as to it's 4 round trip tickets to anywhere in the United States, and we're in negotiations about what that ends up being. Like what does that be? Like where does that go? What happens with that? Where are those destinations? Because the first thought she had come out of her very insightful and very active mind was Grand Canyon. That was her first thought. That was not my first. That was, if you had to give me a list of 10 places that I would have listed off, Grand Canyon would not have made the list. That would not have made the list. No. She's all about the hiking and the I don't know. The mountain climbing. She's got like these long fingernails. She's like digging into cliffs and just sort of like, like the scaling the side of this is like no, I'm not envisioning that. Not envisioning that. But I don't know. I'm not like a bug on the side of a tree. That's just my perspective. Yeah, she's like, I could wait down at the base of the mountain because this is what I want. This is what I was hoping for. This is what I want to. This is a dream come true for me. But we'll figure all that out. Mega Mabes. What's the drink of choice tonight? I've been loving your coverage commentary on the confirmation hearings. Good stuff to listen at work. I'm glad. Thank you so much. Tonight, we got a Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA, which I happen to like. I like my drinks dark. That's what I noticed. 90-minute IPA will fit the bill. Breaking Bondi weekend lead singer and cover band enemies list. We're gonna talk. She claims she doesn't have no enemies list. We'll see. Anyway, what I did put out in the goal, because I have a goal there, was if we do get 20 yellow or above super chats in the first 2 hours tonight, that I will do a locals after show. I have a couple of thoughts about what that would be on. I was thinking about talking about the whole Gaza ceasefire hostage deal. I have a lot of thoughts about that. A lot of thoughts that I probably shouldn't say on YouTube. I should probably save that stuff for locals. But and then I was thinking that I've been scouring the social media sites, and I've been finding a lot of funny stuff that definitely cannot play on here. In fact, I probably had to cut out, for those of you watching after the show, I probably had to cut out the first 90 seconds. Tonight's opening, I don't think it's gonna make the cut, but we'll see. Don't you have a Trump attorney email and phone, as well as Barnes' phone number? Use your contacts to get you tickets. I reached out to Barnes. I've never spoken to his attorney. I have his email and phone. He's literally, when I was suing and naming him a suit, he wouldn't respond to me. So I don't think he's a big fan. Our new assistant, or our incoming deputy attorney general, he doesn't seem like he's a fan. If I were in his shoes, I wouldn't be a fan of me either, because I was basically looking to fill in a gap that I don't think his firm was really addressing properly. So I have no problem with Todd Blanche. I think seems like a smart attorney. Seems like a good attorney. I'm simply saying I don't expect him to be helpful. So far, Barnes has not been able to help me out with that either. So we'll see. Who knows? Who knows what's going to be? Let's get into it. We're going to start with Pam Bondi and her opening statement. 8 minutes from her. Go for it, Pam. Pam.
That the testimony you're about to give to this committee, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give this committee will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Please be seated and move ahead with your opening statement.
Go Pam. Go Pam. By the way, she looks so happy.
Thank you.
And God bless her. This is for an attorney, this is pretty much the second biggest honor you can get after becoming a Supreme Court justice. I would say this is bigger than being this is pretty massive. It's pretty massive. Getting a point to be Attorney General is a pretty massive deal. And she seems really eager from the moment, which I like.
Chairman Grassley, Ranking Member Durbin, and members of the Senate Judiciary
Look how
Committee.
happy she looks.
I've had the opportunity to meet with almost all of you, and I greatly appreciate that. I'm grateful to President Trump and to this committee for your consideration to be the 87th Attorney General of the United States. I would not be here without my family. And if you can bear with me for just a moment, a lot of them have made a very long trip, and I wrote them all down so I don't forget anyone. My beautiful mother, who I wouldn't be here, a retired kindergarten teacher, would not be here without my mom.
That's sweet.
As of a week ago, it was 12 years since we lost my dad.
Like I said,
leukemia feels like 12 days.
Oh, wow. That's horrible.
My amazing husband, John, and his two incredible girls, Collins and Finley. Collins is a senior at University of Florida. And I think all of you on this committee will be very happy to know Finley is in cybersecurity. There's a third who is traveling abroad. I wish she could be here. My amazing father-in-law, David, my sister, Beth, my brother-in-law is home with my niece, my nephews, if you could just raise your hand, Evan, Jake, and soon-to-be niece, Savannah. My brother, Brad, a brilliant lawyer, my sister-in-law, Tandy, and my nephews, Justin, who just got a 4.0 at UVA, Rex, great college tennis player, Brad, great tennis player. Is Rhea here? And my niece, my beautiful niece, Rhea, and the little guy is in school because he's 10. My friends, Leslie, Kathy, Dina, Tiffany, Kim, Paula, and
I love this. It's almost like she's winning an award for winning an Oscar. And like I said, this is a massive deal for any lawyer. Seriously, it's a big deal becoming Attorney General.
So many of my former coworkers and Ranking Member Durbin, if you want to get dirt on me, these women have known me since I was a child. Seriously, most of them. So thank you for indulging me.
Go Pam. Can't say the S name 3 times. I don't know what that means. Which S name? You mean Schiff? Shifty Schiff? Shifty Schiff? Shifty Schiff? Is that what we're talking about? Or is it something? I'm missing something. Come to the belly of the beast. The mountains of California is an actual cult location in the area. You can get some pointers. That's not a bad idea. Doesn't Pam know about Trump and weak women? Apparently not. Apparently he ain't heard about it. This resident of Arizona recommends highly against the Grand Canyon this time of year. Best pictures, though. We're thinking about going in the summer. That's you also have Ron Coleman's boss for ticket help. She knows me. Harmeet knows me. She might be I don't know that she has spare tickets to give away, though. She's the double threat, smart and hot, giving points to blondes everywhere. She does make blondes seem smarter. She really does seem like an intelligent attorney. God loves you, but wish I could find love. He did. God loves you too. In your face. It's true. Greetings, Joe from Jadine. As always, love the show. How can I be a better uncircumcised Gentile? Pam's kind of hot. The golden rule is actually it's a pretty good yardstick. Golden rule. I believe in God. Golden rule, and be genuinely grateful to others. And let others start with grace. Start with grace for all people, but let their conduct and the way they treat you dictate how you treat them. Never, so that way you're not a sucker for, start with grace, offer grace to everyone you meet, but let their conduct dictate how you're going to deal with them. That's my thoughts. The S name is Shifty. I was blocked 3 times. Were you really? Unbelievable. That's messed up. Let's get back into Pam.
And that they've all made a very long trip to be here. And thank you for holding my hearing as well and not postponing it. I appreciate that. Thank you all.
So she can get in there.
From the moment I
21st.
interned at the state attorney's office in Tampa, Florida, all I wanted to do was be a prosecutor. The Supreme Court certified me, and I had 4 jury trials while still in law school. Lost most of them, but had 4 jury trials and never wanted to do anything else. I continued my career there.
By the way, here's a little known fact. It's not a knock on her that she lost them. Most of the time when you're an incoming litigator, they will give you cases that they know are unwinnable as a way of you cutting your teeth. So the firm will frequently throw the fat into the fire. So this way it's like you don't have to worry, because you don't want to have some rookie go out there and botch a case that's actually winnable. So you send them out there on a dog loser case that they figure, oh, no one's really got much of a chance of winning this thing, and then see if they can, pull a Hail Mary. But the expectation is that they're going to lose.
Trying everything from DUIs, domestic violence cases, capital murder cases, the whole gamut. I became a lead trial attorney in courtroom every day, trying career criminals, was deputy chief of a division, and then ultimately was felony bureau chief, and eventually left to become Florida's 37th attorney general for the state of Florida.
So obviously her resume here, it's difficult to really complain about anything on her resume. She clearly has a great deal of experience as a litigator. She's been attorney general for a fairly significant state, one of the biggest states in the country. So as far as her CV stands for assuming the mantle of being the lead prosecutor for the country, she seems to have the resume that it's going to be difficult for any senators to object to.
Nothing has impacted my career more than my experience as a state prosecutor, because I got to know and still keep in touch with many victims and their families from when I was a prosecutor. Upon becoming Attorney General in 2011, I proudly served for 2 terms. I was term limited. I would probably still be there right now had I not been kicked out of office by term limits. I loved being Attorney General. I did my best to keep Florida safe, to continue to stand up for victims of crime, and to fight the opioid crisis and the drug crisis that was not only facing Florida, but this entire country. Out of the top 100, this is one of the things I'm the most proud of, oxycodone dispensers in the entire country, I believe it was 98 of them, 90 or 98 of them lived in Florida. We fought for tough legislation. Kids were dropping dead every day. We fought for tough legislation, and after that legislation, none of those opioid dealers, doctors, practiced in Florida. We fought to eliminate human trafficking by raising awareness and prevention and talking to parents and talking to children. We also provided critical resources, including safe houses, that my state was lacking. On the civil side, we worked to protect consumers. We tackled everything, including off-label prescription marketing, which affects, as you know, many, many people who can't afford prescriptions as well. We partnered with states' attorneys general from both parties and federal agencies across administrations. We went after price gougers during hurricanes. If confirmed as the next Attorney General of the United States, my overriding objective will be to return the Department of Justice to its core mission of keeping Americans safe and vigorously prosecuting criminals. And that
wouldn't that be a nice change for the DOJ to actually just be vigorously prosecuting criminals?
Includes getting back to basics, gangs, drugs, terrorists, cartels, our border, and our foreign adversaries. That is what the American people expect, and that is what they deserve from the Department of Justice. If confirmed, I will do everything in my power, and it will be my great responsibility to make America safe again. Making America safe again also requires reducing recidivism. We have to fix the Bureau of Prisons, and I am looking on both sides of the aisle. The Bureau has suffered from years of mismanagement, lack of funding, and low morale. I was proud to support President Trump's First Step Act. I think more can be implemented and more can be done on that front. President Trump's leadership on criminal justice reform has demonstrated what is possible when a president is unafraid to do things that have been deemed to be too difficult. We have to reach across the aisle and get solutions for all of these problems. Like the president, I believe we are on the cusp of a new golden age where the Department of Justice can and will do better if I am confirmed. Lastly, and most importantly, if confirmed, I will fight every day to restore confidence and integrity to the Department of Justice and each of its components. The partisanship, the weaponization will be gone. America will have one tier of justice for all. In all this work, I'll collaborate closely with this committee. I will work with all of you as I've committed to do when I met with almost all of you. And I will partner not only with the federal agencies, but with the state and local officials throughout our great country. I look forward to answering your questions today and working together for this country and our Constitution.
So there
Thank
you go,
Senators.
Very solid opening there. Very solid opening statement from Pam Bondi. And the first person out of the gate, we're not going to get the entire thing here from Chuck Grassley, but he is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. He's the first one to come out of the gate, and he has stuff on his agenda that he wants to address as far as this is what's most critical to him. I don't know. This is Chuck Grassley.
Earlier, we'll each have 4 minutes. When we were talking in my office, I brought up the importance of your listening to whistleblowers.
He looks older than Moses.
And about 30 or 35 investigations I've got underway of the executive branch, and not just because of a Democrat president. Some of them are probably carryovers from Republican presidents. It's very important that the executive branch understand the cooperation that you must have with us to carry out our responsibilities to see that the president faithfully executes the laws. And I think that too often whistleblowers, being patriotic people they are, wanting government to do what government's just supposed to do, and find something wrong, they want to report it.
And this is the thing we've seen with whistleblowers is that when they're Democratic whistleblowers, all of a sudden the whistleblowers and they have to be like, the highest protections imaginable, that they're the most untouchable people on earth. When they're whistleblowers against Democrats, they get prosecuted and basically, chased out of whatever position they have.
And they want to report it within the agency. They don't come to Congress unless they don't get any help in the executive branch. It seems to me that it's very important that you respect whistleblowers, but I've seen them,
and I agree with that,
treated like a skunk at a picnic by the agency they're in.
That's true.
I've seen them ruin themselves professionally. I see themselves. One time an FBI agent came to me, was escorted out of headquarters, with his gun and badge taken away from him, just because the laboratory there was not using science to make sure that crime was actually committed. So now we have a new $40 million head or science lab so that people are protected and get their constitutional rights. So will you protect whistleblowers from retaliation and promote a culture? And I think that last thing, promote a culture, is more important, that values the important contribution of whistleblowers.
And I just want to say, like, in principle, I agree with what he's asking for. I think that is a healthy thing. I think that leads to better transparency, and that's a good thing. I just think it's a weird thing that this is the very first thing out of the gate. Let's talk about whistleblowers. There's a lot of other issues that I would think take priority over that, but everyone's got their thing, and apparently this is his issue.
Yes, and Senator, I think so people fully understand the importance of whistleblowers. They have to be able to tell the truth and come forward without fear of retaliation. And that's the purpose of the whistleblower statute.
And when there's retaliation, the taxpayers' money's paying for that retaliation in most cases. The Biden Justice Department issued guidance telling prosecutors to stop charging mandatory minimums and ignore laws setting penalties on drug type. It also allowed folks to pay civil and criminal fines to politicize non-government organizations instead of the government treasury. I put together a list of their guidance. I find it very concerning and unfair to the taxpaying public, and I'd like to have you review those policies very soon after you're confirmed.
Absolutely, Senator.
In regard to antitrust, enforcing antitrust laws is extremely important to ensure that markets are fair and that consumers are protected. I've been active in making sure that the Justice Department and the FTC carefully scrutinize mergers and that they look out for anti-competitive behavior and predatory practices. I keep a close eye on these issues as they impact my state of Iowa, and particularly agriculture, healthcare, and technology industries. And I'm interested in your commitment to make antitrust enforcement a priority.
Antitrust enforcement was a priority when I was a state AG, and it will be a priority if I am confirmed as Attorney General. And again, I am so proud to have Gail Slater handling that. She is
do you agree that
loved by both sides?
Okay.
Of the aisle.
Well, my time's up. Go ahead, Senator.
No, well, that's a shame.
Let's
move on to Durbin. let's just move on to Durbin. Durbin is the Democrats' ranking member. He's from the state of Illinois, and things get testy out of the gate when Durbin comes in there. Things start getting testy, and Pam starts showing her mettle early on. This is the first Democrat. Like I said, ranking member of the minority for the Judiciary Committee is Dick
Thank
Durbin.
you, Senator Grassley. Ms. Bondi, if you're successful in your nomination, this Democrat would like to give you 3 words of advice. Answer Grassley's letters. You'll never hear the end of it if you don't. At issue, I believe, in this nomination hearing is not your competence nor your experience. At issue is your ability to say no. More than any other cabinet.
Just say no. Just say no. I don't know if he's accusing her of something having to do with drugs. I don't know if he's accusing her of something to do with, like, you know, her private life. Learn to say no.
Official, the Attorney General has to be prepared to put the Constitution first and even tell the President of the United States you're wrong.
It's TDS.
The political danger and personal costs of such a decision are well documented. You have only to ask former Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Bill Barr, whom Donald Trump sacked for lack of loyalty. And so I have 3 basic questions I'd like to ask you. Most Americans believe that central to the peaceful transition of power in a democracy is the acceptance of the results of an election.
Oh my God.
To my
Oh my God. This is where he's starting.
Donald Trump has never acknowledged the legal results of the 2020 election.
Are you willing to bend the knee and admit to me right here and now that he lost in 2020? Because this is a very important thing. Very, very important thing as to your ability to be AG is, can you bend the knee?
Are you prepared to say today under oath without reservation that Donald Trump lost the presidential contest to Joe Biden in 2020?
Look at the twisted framing of his question, because the implication is, he's like, I want to know if you have the power to say no to Trump. The implication is the only reason you would not be saying no, you would be disagreeing with me, is because you're lying to protect Trump and to stand with Trump because you don't have the power to say no to him, rather than you independently think that all the hot garbage that we saw in the 2020 election raised a lot of freaking questions as to whether or not he actually lost. So he frames this question as this is an accepted given that every person would agree with unless they are bending the knee and pledging fealty to Trump. So are you willing to show that you're not willing to bend the knee by agreeing with me with this retarded given that this is the reality, as opposed to, and she doesn't take, she sees through it because she's a smart cookie. She sees through it, as you're about to see.
Ranking Member Durbin, President Biden is the president of the United States. He was duly sworn in, and he is the president of the United States. There was a peaceful transition of power. President Trump left office and was overwhelmingly elected in 2024.
Do you have any doubts that Joe Biden had the majority of votes, electoral votes necessary to be elected president in 2020?
You know, Senator, all I can tell you as a prosecutor is from my firsthand experience. And I accept the results. I accept, of course, that Joe Biden is president of the United States. But what I can tell you is what I saw firsthand when I went to Pennsylvania as an advocate for the campaign. I was an advocate for the campaign, and I was on the ground in Pennsylvania, and I saw many things there. But do I accept the results? Of course I do. Do I agree with what happened? And I saw so much
shenanigans.
You know, no one from either side of the aisle should want there to be any issues with election integrity in our country. We should all want our elections to be free and fair, and the rules and the laws to be followed.
I think that question.
She's like, she's not giving him what he wants. She's like, I ain't giving you what I want. I saw some stuff going on in Pennsylvania. I was there. I saw. I know I saw my own eyes. I ain't gonna bend my knee to you just because you're gonna label that as I'm unwilling to say no to Trump.
Deserved a yes or no, and I think the length of your answer is an indication.
So this is a fair question, Fletcher boy. Why even answer when they're not going to vote to confirm? They're all going to reject. The reason to do it is you want to show the Republicans that you can be respectful, that you have the professionalism to answer respectfully. That's why. It's really not even, it's not about earning their vote. It's about retaining the vote from your side of the aisle.
You weren't prepared to answer yes. Have you heard the recording of President Trump on January 2nd, 2021, when he urged the Secretary of State of Georgia to, quote, find 11,780 votes and declare him the winner of that state?
No.
I played this phone call with Raffensperger and 10 other people on the phone that Trump had, I think twice on this channel now, the entire hour and 2-minute long call. And he says over and over and over again, he points to one problem after another, saying that there's really hundreds of thousands of problems of votes that are wrong. And he's like, I don't need you to do all the work. I just need you to find 11,000 of them. Find those 11,000. You're done because there's so many things wrong. And he even said over and over again, don't you want to have accurate results in your election? Anyone who listens to the full phone call it's obvious that if you listen to it in good faith, it's obvious. The context of his entire conversation was basically saying, there's a lot of fraud there. You don't have to uncover all of it, but I need you to get to at least finding 11,000. Find me the votes. And now they're making it as if So for this knucklehead to come out here and start pretending that the objective here was, to try and steal or cheat in the Georgia election is so utterly corrupt. It's shame. It's shameless and shameful, which is an interesting adjective that can either have less or full as a suffix and still be both appropriate here for Dick Durbin and this ridiculous take of his. Ridiculous. Shenanigans. It is a great. It is. I wish you would have used it.
Oh, I've heard about it through clips, but no, Senator, I've not heard it.
What was your reaction to President Trump making that call?
I would have to listen to the tape, Senator.
Well, the quote that I give you is exact.
I'm out of context and stupid.
He said to the Georgia Secretary of State, find 11,780 votes.
Do you have the entire?
That's actually not what he said. He said find 11,000. I don't think he said 11,780 because he wasn't sure of the number. So I'm 90% sure that what he's claiming is the exact quote is not even the exact quote.
Your context of that call, I feel like it was much longer than that, and may have been taken out of context.
It was an hour long.
Right.
And you can certainly listen to it. I hope you will.
Oh yeah.
Every American should.
Every American should.
As a former prosecutors, are you
every American
not
who
concerned
listens to it and hasn't been had their brain just saturated with so many lies that they can actually listen to it and still engage in critical analysis will realize what an utter and ridiculous lie Dick Durbin is trying to spread here.
The President of the United States called a state election official and asked him to find enough votes to change the results of the election?
Senator, I have not listened to the hour-long conversation, but it's my understanding that is not what he asked him to do.
You need to listen to it.
Oh, yeah. You need to listen to it.
Let me ask a third question. Do you believe that the January 6 rioters who've been convicted of violent assaults on police officers should be pardoned?
That's not her duties. That's not part of her duties. Her duty is not to decide whether or not someone should be pardoned. That's plenary authority of the president.
Senator, if confirmed as Attorney General of the United States, the pardons, of course, fall under the president. But if asked to look at those cases, I will look at each case and advise on a case-by-case basis, just as I did my entire career as a prosecutor.
You also advise the president on pardons as part of your responsibility as Attorney General. And so I'm asking you, do you
really? Did the Attorney General advise Biden on his pardons? Did they?
That those who've been convicted of the January 6th riot, violent assaults on our police officers should be pardoned? That's a simple question.
So, Senator, I have not seen any of
HPG KMC was critiquing me. I should have been playing Grassley at double speed. So it's normal speaking cases.
Those files, of course. If confirmed and if asked to advise the president, I will look at each and every file. But let me be very clear in speaking to you. I condemn any violence on a law enforcement officer in this country.
Let me ask you about your work as a lobbyist for Ballard Partners. You did not list your current position as a partner at the lobbying firm, nor the work you've done for your Ballard Partner clients, such as lobbying for the country of Qatar for $115,000 a month, and for corporate giants, Amazon and Uber, when you were asked about conflicts of interest. Why do you believe your work as a lobbyist does not constitute potential conflicts of interest?
Well, Senator, first, that was the amount my firm received. I believe multiple people represented the country of Qatar within my firm. My role, and I am very proud of the work that I did, it was a short time and I wish it had been longer for Qatar, was anti-human trafficking efforts leading into the World Cup, which is something I'd like to talk about later too. I was registered as FARA along with many members of my firm. That was the sole portion of my representation for Qatar. Now, if there are any conflicts with anyone I represented in private practice, I would consult with the career ethics officials within the department and make the appropriate decision. I would also like to point out to you, I don't believe that I would be the first Attorney General who has represented and advocated for businesses in their past.
Of course not. The question is whether you will recuse yourself from any case involving your Ballard clients. One of those clients was the GEO Group, was it not?
GEO, yes.
A private prison company you lobbied for. It manages correctional institutions and detention facilities. The GEO Group has faced criticism for safety violations, inadequate health care, and poor management. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is GEO's largest source of revenue. Under the Trump administration, GEO stands to earn hundreds of millions of dollars by detaining immigrants if there is this mass deportation. Would you sense any conflict of interest if you're asked to judge the performance of this government contractor?
Senator, I will consult with the career ethics officials within the Department of Justice and make the appropriate decision.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good answer. Good answer. That's a good answer in general. Also, you should avoid hypotheticals. Avoid hypotheticals. All right, let's move on to, should we do, what time is it? I'm 42 minutes in. Trying to decide whether or not I want to do Lindsey Graham. I haven't listened to Lindsey Graham. We'll give him a little bit of a listen.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
forgot to say that John's family was from South Carolina.
The upstate, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Give you a pass on that. From Anderson, by the way. So, listen, President Trump asked a bunch of us, who would you pick for Attorney General? How many of you got asked that on our side? Probably didn't ask Dick, but he asked me. I said Pam Bondi. That's like an easy decision. I couldn't think of anybody more qualified that he knew, that he trusted. And it's okay to have, you were his lawyer, right?
Yes, sir. I represented him when they tried to impeach him the first time as part of Whitehouse Counsel, Office of Special Counsel.
Being Trump's lawyer prepares you for many things. So, yeah, you have a longstanding relationship with the president. He trusts you. That's a good thing. That's probably why President Kennedy picked his brother, Bobby Kennedy. I guess you can say no to your older brother. I'm sure he would. But this idea there's something bad is ridiculous. Who do you pick? You pick people you know. You pick people you trust, people that you're qualified. I'm glad he picked you. He knows you, he trusts you, and you're highly qualified. So
Did she really? Oh, the electors. Oh, I know. In 2016, right? The whole the faithless electors thing. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Get wrecked, Richard. She handled him properly.
There's something wrong with that is just absolutely ridiculous. So let's talk about the job you're about to have here. Do you support making certain drug cartels in Mexico foreign terrorist organizations?
Yeah, I don't care about this. You're boring me. You're boring me, ladybugs. You're boring me. Sorry. I want to stay with folks who are more entertaining. Let's go to Sheldon Whitehouse. We'll mix it up here. Sheldon Whitehouse. This got a little bit testy. Sheldon, in case you're not sure who Sheldon Whitehouse is, he's a Republican. He's a Democrat from Rhode Island. So let's go to Sheldon. Get a little fire in here.
Welcome, Ms. Bondi.
Thank you, Senator. And thank you for meeting with me. I greatly appreciate that.
It was a pleasure.
He always looks over his
Ms.
glasses
Bondi,
like this.
you were a courtroom prosecutor for a great many years. As a courtroom prosecutor, did you ever have an enemies list?
No, Senator.
Oh, they're so afraid. They're so afraid. Oh, she got her whole enemies list. They're be coming after Schiff. They're coming after Liz Cheney. They're coming after Adam Kinzinger and Nancy Pelosi. Oh, they're coming for Benny Johnson. Do you have your enemies list? They're so afraid.
Sure.
And you went on to be Florida's Attorney General. As Florida's Attorney General, did you ever have an enemies list?
No, Senator.
As Florida's Attorney General, you were responsible for hiring into the Florida Department of Attorney General, correct?
Senator, the Attorney General's office in Florida is the third largest.
Is it just me or the whole, look, he's got reading glasses or whatever, like the whole looking over the glasses thing where he's like sort of looking down his nose at her. It's sort of, that's looking down. Wait, which is looking down your nose? Wait, which? Wait, that's looking down your nose. It's the opposite. Looking, he's looking up. He's not. It's not looking up. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But it definitely seems as if it's trying to be authoritarian. It's like, this is your father talking to you now.
Just in the state, approximately 1,400 employees and approximately 400 lawyers. Only California and Texas are our bigger offices.
And you were
So,
responsible
yes.
for hiring into that office while you were Attorney General?
Yes.
Would you have hired someone into the Florida Attorney General's office who you knew had an enemies list?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's almost like he's a cross between Sam Waterston, that guy who used to be on Law and Order, and Keith Olbermann. There's just something about the whole vibe I get from Sheldon Whitehouse, which is just very, very, like, not as unsettling as Keith Olbermann, but because I actually think that Waterston from Law and Order, he has a very much more relaxing type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not veneer. Now I'm looking. Mean. That's the word. There you go. That's for the SATs. Those of you who are taking the SATs. He does. But yeah, Pam is sitting here looking up at her, at a guy who's like, basically, he wants everyone to call him daddy. Certainly.
Senator, to cut to the chase, you're clearly talking about Kash Patel. I don't believe he has an enemies list. He made a quote on TV, which I have not heard. I saw your sign, or Senator Durbin's sign, about Kash. But I know that Kash Patel has had 60 jury trials as a public defender, as a prosecutor. He has great experience in the Intel Department, Department of Defense. I have known Kash, and I believe that Kash is the right person at this time for this job. You'll have the ability to question Mr. Patel.
And I'm questioning you right now about whether you will enforce an enemies list that he announced publicly on television.
Oh, Senator, I'm sorry. There will never be an enemies list within the Department of Justice.
Thank you.
Well, you could have asked that question from the get-go.
What is the FBI's role in national security and counterterrorism, and how important is that role?
Senator, I believe now more than ever, counterterrorism is so important and vital in our country. We are facing such incredible threats here and abroad. I'm sure many of you saw former FBI Director Wray's interview on 60 Minutes. He talked about the threats that, frankly, again, I don't have my security clearance, but the threats facing us, Senator, from China right now that are so great. The sleeper cells within our country.
Given that importance, is it responsible to call for shutting down the FBI's counterterrorism and national security work? And will you, as Attorney General, impede or shut down the FBI's counterterrorism and national security work?
Not the head of the FBI.
Senator,
Two questions.
Senator, I believe that national security is vital right now for our country on so many fronts. I could continue to discuss many others.
And the FBI's role in that?
And the FBI plays a vital role in counterterrorism
which you will or will not shut down.
I will look at each agency. I have no intention of shutting anything down right now, Senator. I am not in that office yet. And if confirmed, I will look at each individual agency and how it should be managed. But counterterrorism right now in our world is vital.
You have said that department.
Just going to say, Kathy, I appreciate you sending me the message about the invite to inauguration. I've sent that out. My Lady Lawgic sent it out. I saw what you shared with me on X, which was saying text messages to register for the inauguration. He has this. They basically say you can guarantee yourself a ticket if you give them $100,000. But yeah, that you can put your name. You can submit your name for a wish list, which I've done that. I did that 6 weeks ago, and I appreciate. I appreciate. Maybe I'd missed it, and that's why I appreciate you calling to my attention. But yeah, I already had done that.
of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted in the Trump administration. What Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted and why?
I said that on TV. I said prosecutors will be prosecuted, to finish the quote, if bad. Investigators will be investigated. You know,
Good.
we all take an oath,
Good.
Senator, to uphold
Good.
the law. None of us are above the law.
Good.
Let me give you
Go
a
get
really
him.
good example of a bad lawyer within the Justice Department, a guy named Klein Smith, who
No.
altered a
Oh, going after Kleinsmith. This guy, Kleinsmith, I'll let her tell you this, because the punishment he got was a joke. A joke.
FISA warrant, one of the most important things we can do in this country. So will everyone be held to an equal, fair system of justice?
He got like a 2-month suspension. Maybe I don't want to speak out to him. It might have been a 6-month suspension of his law license for altering a warrant and misleading the court into giving him a warrant. The guy should have been thrown in jail.
Justice, if I am the next Attorney General, absolutely, and no one is above the law.
Get him.
Under what circumstances will you prosecute journalists for what they write?
I believe in the freedom of speech. Only if anyone commits a crime. It's pretty basic, Senator, with anything, with any victim. And this goes back to my entire career for 18 years as a prosecutor and then 8 years as Florida's Attorney General. You find the facts of the case, you apply the law in good faith, and you treat everyone fairly.
Good answer.
And it would not be appropriate for a prosecutor to start with a name and look for a crime. It's a prosecutor's job to start with a crime and look for a name, correct?
I'm going to give you a viewer's discretion warning here, even though this is the following program and not viewer's discretion. I'm about to give, but there is a warning I need to give you. You're about to watch an 18-wheel tractor trailer just destroy an old man who happens to go by the name of Senator Sheldon Whitehouse. You're about to see him get destroyed. Listen to his question.
To start with a name and look for a crime. It's a prosecutor's job to start with a crime and look for a name, correct?
Senator, I think that is the whole problem with the weaponization that we have seen the last 4 years and what's been happening to Donald Trump. They targeted Donald Trump. They went after him, actually starting back in 2016. They targeted his campaign. They have launched countless investigations against him. That will not be the case if I am Attorney General. I will not politicize that office. I will not target people simply because of their political affiliation. Justice will be administered even-handedly throughout this country. Senator, we've got to bring this country back together. We've got to move forward or we're going to lose our country.
Yeah, I think the concern is that weaponization of the Justice Department may well occur under your tenure. And we want to make sure that that's not the case, that you remain independent, that you remain able to and willing to tell the president no when that's necessary to protect the Constitution and the integrity of the department. So that's where I'm asking these questions. We talked in the meeting about the contacts policy that has prevailed really since Senator Hatch sat in that chair and demanded it of the Clinton Justice Department through all the administration since then, with the exception of a brief period under Attorney General Gonzalez, which he corrected and which did not end well for him. There has been a contacts policy that limits contacts between the White House and the Department of Justice to a very few senior officials on each side. In your role as Attorney General, if you are confirmed, will you maintain, defend, and enforce that longstanding contacts policy?
Senator, yes, I will meet with Whitehouse counsel and I will meet with the appropriate officials and follow the contacts policy.
My time has expired. Thank you, Ms. Bondi.
There you go. There you go. Spuds gifting 5 Good Logic memberships, bringing in Heather Sparrow. You are now a follower. Eric with a K. That's right, Eric with a K. Now a member, courtesy of Spuds. Piano Dean. Wow, Piano Dean go back a long time here on this channel. And finally, Piano Dean, you've been brought in. Now you're a member of the following. As well as Gilly Claude, and I'm missing someone here. Oh, this guy here. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. All right. Welcome to the following. Let's go. You probably don't know this, or some of your fellow new followers may not be aware of this. I am not the leader of the following. The following is just a group of like-minded individuals who are concerned about greater personal growth through community, unity, and leadership training. But I am not the leader of the following. It's not a thing. A lot of people get confused about that. Please don't make that mistake. It gets embarrassing for everyone. God bless you, Spuds. Thank you so much. Just wish I could find. Listen. Key is always confidence. Confidence and good hygiene. That's all it is. Confidence and good hygiene. And if you like make enough money that you can actually keep some overhead, then it's confidence. making and I'm not saying you have to be rich. I'm just saying you can you can provide for both of you in a way that's livable. Yeah, that's really it. And hygiene is big. There you go. Tracy, he's practicing in DC again according to Gates. Who's practicing again in DC? Who? I don't know who's practicing. 10:55, 4 minutes ago. Sheldon Whitehouse? Cash Patel? Who are we talking about here? I'm confused. I don't know who you're referring to, Tracy. Sorry. Question. Do you think he or anyone could name the 3 times the Ninth Amendment has been used? Funny to listen to people who argue about them but don't. That's a good question. That is a good question. I always thought that the Ninth Amendment should apply to right to hear as opposed to right to speak. But that's my take. But I don't know that I can. To be frank with you, I'm not sure I can answer that. No. So Joe is not the leader. Got it. Well, I guess so. I said I'm not the leader of the following. I don't know why this is so confused. It's very easy. Very easy stuff. All right. This is John Cornyn. He is a Republican. You might be saying to me, Joe, what state is John Cornyn from? He is from the great state of Texas. John Cornyn from the great state of Texas. He is a rhino through and through. A rhino through and through. The ultimate rhino. You're going to see him say one of the rhino-iest things imaginable because he's a friggin' rhino.
Ms. Bondi, your testimony is music to my ears.
Thank you.
One of the things that I have been most concerned about over certainly the last 4 years and extending back during President Trump's administration is...
His name rings a bell because he was fighting with Thune to become the Senate Majority Leader when McConnell stepped down from the role.
Weaponization and politicalization of the Department of Justice, which together with the FBI is one of the most important institutions in this country. If people don't trust that their elected officials will faithfully enforce the law or administer equal justice under the law, they've lost faith in America. And that disturbs me greatly. And I know it.
Now, the big thing to rhinos, because if you're a neocon, if you're one of these Republicans in name only, you're not really a big believer in Constitution. You're much more believer. You're a much stricter adherent to the notion of our institutions are too big to fail. And this is why they're totally fine with giving lots of money away to other countries. This is why they don't really mind when the left erodes our essential values. They just they know they need to put up a fight, so this way their constituents who put them in will reelect them. They put themselves ahead of country every time, because that's what rhinos are. They're constantly seeking out more power, and they have an inordinate amount of trust in the establishments, the established elements, the pillars of America. That applies to the American military. That it's undefeatable. Doesn't matter what we do to it, it's undefeatable. That's their thought. This is their thought process. Okay, that in general, there's never any real corruption. There are minor levels of corruption here and there, but we don't have to really worry about it. But that we could basically trust that most people who are put into a position that they are doing their job with the objective of doing good. And that's why if we see corruption, we don't want to rock the boat with what Americans are, because we assume that most Americans are too stupid to understand nuanced perspectives. So we're going to lie to them, and they're going to swallow what we tell them. And that we're going to basically, they're very big believers in America being a global superpower and enforcing its will on the globe as the policeman of the globe. So all of these are governing elements to the mindset of a rhino. They don't think of themselves as being evil. They really don't. They don't think like, oh, I'm a corrupt, greedy. They look at themselves as no different from anyone else, that they are hungry, they're power hungry, and they assume everyone else around them is power hungry, that everyone's acting out for themselves. But even while acting out for themselves, they're still ultimately, trying to do good by America and by Americans. And that when we see corruption, we should just assume that that's the exception, it's not the rule. So all of these, they have a set of givens that they start with, which are all deeply flawed. Deeply flawed. And they start with all these very, very flawed givens and reach these ridiculous conclusion that America can never be toppled because, well, we have our capitalism, and our capitalism can never be undercut. We have our culture here, which predominates the world and always will, no matter what happens. We have our education system, which could be a little bit better, but it's good enough. We have the will of the American people, and we have our military. We got tons of money. And all of these different things are elements that a rhino feels basically gives him a lot more confidence. They have more confidence in that than they have in God, in the Constitution, or in anything that most Americans actually would put their values in. So that's the mindset of a John Cornyn here from Texas. With that in mind, let's hear him. Let's him continue.
Does you too, based on what you said. So I'm delighted to hear you say what you have said, but I want to talk about some specific topics. Time is short. First, the border. I believe President Biden and Vice President Harris had presided over one of the biggest humanitarian and public safety disasters in American history. Senator Cruz and I represent a state with 1,200 miles of common border with America. But as you pointed out with fentanyl, what happens at the border doesn't stay at the border. Fentanyl poisoning is the most common cause of death of young people between the age of 18 and 45. We know where it comes from.
Yes.
This matters to him because even a rhino can read the public opinion. They recognize and respect the power that Trump has and that MAGA has. They do not like Trump. Rhinos do not like him at all. They despise him. Because they look at him as an outsider who might shake things up in ways that could hurt their bottom line or their ultimate power. So they don't like him. They don't like an agent of change. Agents of change are very unsettling to them. So he knows he doesn't really care about the border. He doesn't really care about all the infiltrations here, but he knows this is what his constituents care about. So he needs to express this as you know, and pay homage to the fact that this is a calamity, but he doesn't actually really care about it.
Curses come from China. They go to the cartels, they mix them up, make them look like innocuous pills, and young people take them and die. It's just that simple and that tragic. So there's just so much that we could talk about with regard to the border, but you know, I know people voted for President Trump in large part because of his promise to restore security at the border. Will you do everything within your power as Attorney General to enforce the laws on the book, including the President's executive orders, which I anticipate he will be signing on January the 20th when he is sworn in, and help do everything you can and the Department of Justice can is to restore security to our southern border?
Yes, Senator, absolutely.
One example is, of course, if you come here to the from anywhere in the country and you show up at the border under the Biden and Harris administration policies, you'll simply be released into the interior of the country, either to await a trial date, which may never occur due to the enormous backlog, or you will simply be paroled. And I know parole has a special connotation in the criminal law, but in this context, as you know, it's designed to be administered on a case-by-case basis. Yet President Biden and Vice President Harris had granted parole, that is, released people into the United States on a categorical basis, or anybody who shows up, or because they don't have the detention facilities to keep them. So do you believe Lake and Riley would be alive today if President Biden and Vice President Harris had enforced the law and secured the border?
Senator, he should not have been in our country. And then Lake and Riley would have been alive. And I don't think it's just Lake and Riley. There are so many victims throughout our country. Not only that, we're all familiar with the violent gangs who are coming into our country, walking into our country freely through the open border. The cartels, the gangs, Venezuela's let people out of their prisons. It's been reported. I don't have the security clearance yet to see what's happening, but I know, we all know, there are criminals throughout our country, and it is my commitment to you on both sides of the aisle that I will do everything in my power with the agencies that fall under me if I am confirmed to make America safe again. We have to do that, Senator.
Well, many of us, of course, see classified information on the Intelligence Committee or just generally in our duties as a senator. And so you're not going to feel any better about the blinking lights, the danger that Director Wray has talked about. In my closing moments here, I want to revisit an issue that is of particular importance. 60% of the President's daily brief, which is the intelligence brief that the Director of National Intelligence and the CIA Director delivered to the President, comes from Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. I've called this the most important law that most people have never heard of. I know you have, and you're familiar with it, but I want to ask you a few questions about that. It's been called the crown jewel of US intelligence. And of course, it cannot be legally used to spy on American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, it ought to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I know you would agree with that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Not only is he still practicing in D.C., apparently, from what I recall, I can check Rock out what he says about, but I remember them saying something like he has like a year-long suspension, but they backdated it at the start of that time to like when they began their investigation, which was like 10 months earlier. He literally just got like a paid holiday. It was nothing. It was ridiculous.
But there have been some, as you know, and as you pointed out to Senator Graham, we have a temporary extension of the existing authorization for the use of the intelligence community to target foreign threats to our national security.
Oh, I should cover this, by the way. Thank you to whoever gifted me membership last night. I think that was yours truly. Yesterday I gifted 5. I don't think anyone else gifted last night, so I think that was me. And you're very welcome. You're welcome. Welcome to the following. Not at all a cult. Type of cult. I wish she would tell these politicians and go pound sand up their posteriors. Well, she does. She does when they get hostile. She does. That's one of the things you're going to enjoy tonight. If only we could primary him. Told Rhino, isn't he supposed to come as Senate Majority Leader? No, he was in the running with John Thune. John Thune beat him out. So John Thune is Senate Majority Leader. But yeah. Why do so many senators look like the living dead? Because they're there forever. They're there forever. The very first question for every bill submitted to Congress should be, how are we going to pay for it? Yes, yes, and yes.
That expires in 2026.
This is an important thing he's getting to.
Out to Senator Graham, we have a temporary extension of the existing authorization for the use of the intelligence community to target foreign threats to our national security.
Yeah, the extension. Ever since the Patriot Act, we've been extending this ability to investigate foreign dangerous elements.
That expires in 2026. And I'd like you just to confirm here on the record that you will enforce that law and you can support the law as it is written.
Because this is a law that rhinos really like. Because they're very big about police power, trust the police, trust the state, trust the state, trust the state. Because everyone there, we assume they're basically good people. Trust the state, trust the state, trust the state, trust the state. They really believe it. They don't think they're the bad people. They think they're the good people. But I'm telling you now, they really believe it. Trust the state, trust the state, trust the state. And that's what this guy is all about. He's all about the FISA. He's all about FISA warrants and quickie opportunities for the state. He would happily have the state spying on every single communication that happens in this country. And the rationale he would have is, if you're not doing anything wrong, why would you care? Why would you care? Why would you care? He would happily be investigating everybody, every one of us. And that's what he's asking. Are you going to support that?
Senator, I haven't read the entire 702 in front of you, but I will commit to reading that and doing everything I can to keep America safe again.
Of course you will. So
it's a great dodge. It's a great dodge.
Director Ratliff, who's going to be, I'm going to go to his hearing on for CIA director. Of course, he was confirmed as director of national intelligence. Some have argued that in order to query or look at lawfully collected FISA 702 product, that you need to get a warrant requirement in order to show probable cause that a crime, including espionage, perhaps has been committed. But Director Ratliff has written that a warrant requirement may not achieve its intended objectives and could hinder national security efforts. Do you share Director Ratliff's concerns?
I would read his memo and I will speak to you after I read his memo, Senator.
Well, we need to have a...
She's like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about right here. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I certainly don't know anything. I'm not weighing in here. I need to know the lay of the land a little bit better before I weigh in, which is a wise move because you can't know everything. So I like that.
I hope you and I can continue this conversation after this because I think there's a lot of misinformation with regard to how Section 702 works. I'm happen to be one of the members of the Senate Intelligence Committee. We read that product on a regular basis, and it is not used to spy on American people. I think what's fundamentally missing is a lack of trust in the intelligence community, including the FBI, which I'm hoping you and Mr. Patel can restore. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm hoping you and Mr. Patel can restore. So what you can take here from the end of what he's basically saying is that we want to continue spying on every American, and we plan on continuing spying on every American. And when we don't want to let this thing lapse in 2026. We want to get another extension at that point, and we're going to keep asking for this extension for as long as there are senators in D.C., and that we're going to try and have this basically that your great grandchildren will still be having this we'll still be having this 702 and our FISA court here, and we see that there's a lot of public outrage about the fact that it's been abused and it's a ridiculous system to try and circumvent standard probable cause issues. We like circumventing it, and we're hoping that you're gonna come along with us on that, and at the same time saying, P.S. you and Kash Patel are going to get confirmed. P.S. you and Kash are both going to get confirmed. That's what he's basically saying. We're gonna keep doing the same rhino garbage that we've been doing, but by the way, you and Kash are both gonna get confirmed. Such an utter rhino. Why are they being confirmed? And why is Kash being confirmed? It's like they feel like they're cutting a deal with Trump. We'll give you your guy, but we're gonna keep business as usual. Unbelievable. Maybe we should not have secret courts that could help with trust issues. Just a little bit. Just a teensy bit. Teensy bit. Terrible human being. We gotta get rid of that guy. Have to get rid of it. He has to be primaried out. All right. Awful. All right. We got Graham. We got him. What are you at? We did Durbin already. This is Cornyn. Okay, I have to give you a shrill voice warning on the next one. This is an individual whose voice will make your skin kind of crawl a little bit here. There's nothing I can do about that. I've tried running it through a filter. Maybe if I had like a Minnie Mouse filter, it would be like a little bit more enjoyable. I don't know. I gotta see if I'm gonna look into it. This is still an indie podcast. You know, you can't expect me to be splurging the big bucks for those alternate voice instant changers. But here we go. Senator Amy Klobuchar from the great state of Minnesota. Sort of great.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Democrat.
We had a good meeting this week. Thank you for that. And I appreciated your priorities on human trafficking that you mentioned today, that work, as well as fentanyl and some of your other prosecution experience. We had some similar backgrounds in doing that. And I want to talk about, first of all, the US Attorney's Office in Minnesota, one of the premier offices in the country. This office has been instrumental in combating violent crime, dismantling street gangs, taking fentanyl off our streets, enforcing civil rights laws after George Floyd's murder, ensuring victims of fraud get justice. Do you agree that it should be a priority to support U.S. attorneys, frontline prosecutors, and case agents who work hard every single day on our streets?
Senator, I think that is one of the most important things in our country right now. And there are so many good men and women within the Justice Department throughout our country, as well as all the law enforcement agencies. Yes, they work very hard and they will be supported.
I'm concerned about some of the proposals that could put cuts in the COPS program, burn JAG programs. I know you're familiar with those. Senator Murkowski and I lead the COPS reauthorization bill. Will you commit to continue to support those programs?
Senator, I will read everything about those programs because that is a top priority of mine, and I would love to meet with you on that and Senator Murkowski to support law enforcement and those programs.
Thank you. Independence from political interference is vital to the legitimacy and success of the Department of Justice. I was honestly troubled by some of the answers to Senator Durbin's questions. We will continue that discussion, I'm sure, on the committee about the election, but I want to focus on the investigation, charging decisions. As a prosecutor, I'm sure you had this experience. I would get calls from people, hey, that's just a kid, give him a break. And I remember one answer I gave was, he's 40 years old, he's not a kid. But that kind of interference is attempted all the time. And one of my concerns here, whether it's a call from a friend, a corporate lobbyist, a Whitehouse, It has been very clear that the attorney generals of both parties have established clear policies to ensure the White House doesn't tamper with criminal investigations and prosecutions. At Attorney General Mike McCasey's hearing, he made clear that any attempt by the White House, and these are the words, to interfere with a case is not to be countenanced. Any call to a line assistant or to a United States attorney from a political person relating to a case is to be cut and curtailed. Do you agree with this statement?
Senator, yes, I believe that the Justice Department must be independent and must act independently. The number one job is to enforce the law fairly and even-handedly, and that's what will be done if I am confirmed as the Attorney General.
So you will provide an assurance to every member of this committee that the Justice Department will only follow the facts and the law, and the White House will play no role in cases investigated or brought?
Senator, it will be.
She thinks she's got some sort of gotcha. Which is like such an easy question. Yeah, okay.
My job, if confirmed as Attorney General, to make those decisions. Politics will not play a part. I've demonstrated that my entire career as a prosecutor, as Attorney General, and I will continue to do that if you confirm me as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America.
In an earlier question, with some of my colleagues talked about China and the risk, yet you have a nominee from this incoming administration, Kash Patel, the pick to head the FBI, have serious concerns about him, has referred to the FBI's Intel Division, which is responsible for protecting us from foreign adversaries like China, as, quote, the biggest problem the FBI has had. And he said that he wants to, quote, break that component out of the FBI. Do you agree?
I have not seen those comments from Mr. Patel. I would review them.
Why
But
aren't
we
you
have
asking
to do
Kash
everything
these
we can to
questions?
protect our country. Again, Mr. Patel would fall under me and the Department of Justice, and I will ensure that all laws are followed, and so will he.
Okay. There are many decisions made by the FBI director, having seen a number of them do their work, that can be made. While I agree you would be the boss of Kash Patel, I'm not sure that you would be able to intervene with every decision or position that he had or know what he's doing. So let's continue. Do you agree it is a duty of the Justice Department to defend the laws Congress passes? And will you commit to do?
Then why are you asking why are you asking her the question? This is like so stupid. Gosh.
Even when the president may disagree with an act campaigned against its passage or called for its repeal. President Reagan's AG, William French Smith, said the department policy was the department has the duty to defend an act of Congress whenever a reasonable argument can be made in its support. So I'm specifically referring to the 2022 law that I long led that we passed to empower Medicare to negotiate drug prices, major savings for seniors. Will you commit to defend the law against the lawsuits from Big Pharma?
Senator, I was involved in big pharma cases when I was Attorney General of the state of Florida, and I will commit to protect the laws of the United States of America.
Okay, thank you. That would also, same question, with the Supreme Court is going to be hearing a challenge to the Affordable Care Act's coverage of preventative services. And despite the fact that you twice joined suits to have the entire Affordable Care Act invalidated, will you commit to defending this law?
Yeah, I believe this is.
So this is an interesting question. The Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, is something she's attacked. Now she's being put in position as Attorney General on behalf of the United States of defending it. So this is an interesting question.
Very different. It's a very isolated, it's different. It's not the entire Affordable Care Act, but I will, it's pending litigation, of course, within the department.
Since the 1990s, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act has protected patients, providers, and facilities that provide reproductive health services. Will you commit to continuing to enforce the FACE Act to address violence and threats against those providing reproductive health care services?
No, no, no. Say no. Say no. Say to hell with you, you baby murdering butchers. That's what I wanted her to say. That's what I wanted her to say. Say pound sand. Eat rocks. That's what I wanted her to say. I think she's going to say something like she's going to uphold the law.
Senator, the FACE Act not only protects abortion clinics, but it also protects pregnancy centers and people going for counseling. The law should be applied even-handedly. Yes, Senator.
So you'll uphold the enforcement of that law?
I'll uphold the enforcement of the law, Senator.
Okay, and I will ask my antitrust questions in the next round. We had a good discussion about that, and I do appreciate the nominee that has been put in place for the antitrust division, and there's incredibly important work that has to be done in that division. So
Gail
thank
Slade.
All right, so didn't really give the answer I wanted her to give there, but would have been awesome. But yeah. Why do they think DOJ's fourth branch of government is just part of the executive, only elected office in branches POTUS? It's not independent. Yeah, I know. It's they call it Biden's DOJ, and this is going to be Trump's DOJ. That's why it's called that. They don't call it Trump's Congress, even when he has majority. It's Trump's DOJ. Let's get for my money. You asked me for my money. I haven't heard the questions yet. I haven't seen anything yet. A lot of you, if I had to ask you who's the best senator right now, best senator in the country, I'm going to throw that right now. Who do you think is the best senator in the country? Throw your name out. Throw a name out. I'm going to check Rumble. Tell me who the best senator is in the country. Senator. He's not a senator. Rand Paul's not a bad answer. Clay Higgins is not a senator either. Senator. I didn't say congressperson. I said senator. So Hawley's definitely up there. I'm not going to kid you. Hawley's definitely up there. I'm kind of partial. Kennedy ends up not coming through for me enough. See, none of you gave the answer. None of you gave the answer that I probably would have given to that question. Best senator in the country. Right here. Right here. Definitely top three.
I too share the assessment that Gail Slater is great. Had a great meeting with her yesterday. And just
Senator
thrilled
Mike
that
Lee.
you're here and that you're willing to serve. I'd like to
That's
talk
right.
to you as a longtime
Mike
lawyer
Lee from
and one
Utah.
who's handled a variety of criminal matters about the Fourth Amendment. What can you tell us about the Fourth Amendment's warrant requirement and why it's so important?
Bam!
Well, the warrant requirement.
Bam! This is a response to Cornyn. Cornyn was basically like, oh, we need to basically do away with all those pesky warrants and just be able to run to a FISA court. You're going to uphold that, right? And he's like, nah. Let's talk a little bit about the freaking Fourth Amendment. There's a reason we have a Fourth Amendment here. There's important reasons that we got this here. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what you think of the Fourth Amendment.
Requirement is so important, which I've dealt with that since I was in my 20s as a state prosecutor. A
Rand is
warrant
good
is so
too.
important because it protects citizens' rights, and that's why it's so important.
And it does that specifically because under the Fourth Amendment, you're required to go to a judge and you're required to show a judge evidence providing probable cause. And based on that probable cause, you can describe with particularity the things or persons to be searched or seized. And on that basis, the judge may issue or not issue the warrant, but without it, you can't get it. Now, this is time consuming, no doubt, right?
Oh, I've done many of them. Yes, it's very time consuming, Senator.
And there's probably not a law enforcement officer anywhere in the world who wouldn't acknowledge that they could save time if they didn't have to go about it. And yet we require it. Why is that so important that we do it?
Well, it's so important for the reasons you just laid out. When I said I've done many of them, I've approved them and not approved them as a state prosecutor, because law enforcement, there are checks and balances, and law enforcement must bring these warrants to prosecutors to see if there is sufficient evidence. Then
There you
after
go.
that's done, they have to take them to a judge to have a judge sign them. So there have to be sufficient checks and balances throughout our system.
So even after you as Attorney General, as the chief law enforcement officer and prosecutorial authority in the state of Florida approved it within your office, you still had to go to the judge. And if it was late at night, early in the morning, didn't matter when, you had to find a judge.
All hours of the night. That was more when I was a state prosecutor. As Attorney General, the office of the statewide prosecutor, Nick Cox, would have done that many, many times at all hours throughout the night and woken up many, many judges throughout the state of Florida.
Is there an exception to the warrant requirement that exists anytime it would be inconvenient for prosecutors or anytime national security might be involved?
Only with FISA.
I'm not certain about national security, but absolutely no for a state
Right.
prosecutor.
Yeah. There's
No
there's-
exception.
There's no catch-all exception that just says this is important or it would be inconvenient for the prosecutor. And with
You see, this is why I like this guy. This is why I like this guy. He's not clapping back at the Democrats. He's clapping back at John Cornyn saying, please make sure, I really want to get assurances from you that you're going to be supporting this whole FISA court thing, which is going to be thrown up into potentially being dismissed altogether in 2026. So I want to know that you're going to be supportive of that. And she's like, yeah, I care about safety in America. And now Mike Lee is like, yeah, the whole reason they like that is because it's kind of a way of really kind of not needing so much of a warrant.
good reason.
Right.
We've learned through sad experience over many hundreds of years, not only in our own country, but also in that of our mother country, what happens when you don't have this in the loop. So you've been asked today a little bit about Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, also known as FISA. There are those who have repeatedly assured members of this committee, including myself, that don't worry, content of phone calls or electronic communications involving American citizens, sometimes resulting in the quote unquote incidental collection of American citizens' private conversations.
Incidental.
Don't worry, their Fourth Amendment rights are just fine. And
Never.
yet, when they incidentally collect the communications of American citizens, either because they're perhaps unwittingly talking to somebody who might be an agent of a foreign power and themselves under 702 surveillance, they get onto this big database. And at times, there are those in the government, including the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who have gotten into that database and done so, of course, without a warrant because there currently is no warrant requirement. This has the effect of what we call a de facto backdoor warrantless search. Would you agree with me that that is potentially concerning anytime an American citizen's private conversations are intercepted, stored, whether as an incidental collection or otherwise? They ought not be searched without some kind of probable cause showing. I assume you'd agree with me on that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's important. Sometimes people will defend that by saying national security is involved, as if that's the beginning and the end of the inquiry. That has never been the case. And I hope and pray it never will be the case, because that's not what the Fourth Amendment says, not what it does, not what it ever can be. So it's my sincere hope that the next time FISA 702 comes up for reauthorization, Congress finally do what it has been avoiding for a long time, which is to ensure that this doesn't happen. We've heard again and again from...
Awesome. This is awesome. You see, none of you said Mike Lee. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all. Shame on y'all. Look, I'm going to admit to you, okay? There are a few congressmen who are as entertaining and as engaging as the likes of a Kennedy, okay? Senator Kennedy is awesome in that regard. The way he can shred a witness and throw out some of that Southern charm of his, coming from Louisiana, and basically, throwing out some hokey phrase that, no one outside the bayou ever heard before. It's chef's kiss amazing. I'll tell you right now, sometimes he ends up just voting in directions that you're like, what? Why would you do this? Too many times, Senator Kennedy has broken my heart. Josh Hawley, on rare occasion, when pressed under stressful situations, I've seen him bend the knee too. I've seen him bend the knee on Ukraine. I've seen him bend the knee. I've seen him bend the knee on these massive bills that just land on his desk and he's signing 10 minutes later. I've seen him bend the knee, and I agree with you. Senator Hawley is great. I mean, do I consider him amongst the top tier? I agree with you. He is. The guy can sit there and rant against some of these woke crazies in ways that will make a clip that I could sit there and I could spend 5 hours watching with you, and we will all be entertained. 5 hours of Hawley shredding witness after witness after witness. But when it comes to actually voting in ways that you and I want them to vote, once in a while, not often, but once in a while, Hawley will leave us wanting. That's why, for my money, Rand Paul's great. He's great. This guy here, though, he's willing to throw down and basically stand up to a rhino senator, John Cornyn, in this moment here, saying you want her to commit that she's going to support maintaining FISA and your warrantless searches? No, no. Awesome.
People who, if you're confirmed to this position, will soon be your predecessors, prior occupants of the position to which you've been nominated and to which Mr. Patel has been nominated. Don't worry, we have good people. Don't worry, we have good systems in place. Don't worry, it's as good as a warrant requirement, the internal approval procedure that we have within our system.
And I'll tell you this is his point. And this is what they'll always say. Don't worry, they're good people. And this is what rhinos believe. They're good people. They're good people. And if you ask me, I think Patel and Bondi are both great choices, phenomenal choices. Do I trust them on an individual level as far as that they're going to try to do the right thing and do right by Americans standing here on January 15, 2025? Absolutely. 100% I do. Does that mean they won't break my heart a year from now? Does that mean they won't change over the next year from now? No one knows the future. I don't know. And what happens when they get replaced? What happens when the next Merrick Garland shows up here? What happens when the next Chris Wray shows up here? Some rhino is basically like, no, it's for national security. We have to make sure that I'm listening to some grandma talking, sharing cookie recipes with her cousin.
And yet we found out time and time again that this has happened by some accounts, hundreds of thousands of times. These things have been accessed where searches for an American citizen's private communications have been intercepted and stored through incidental collection, have been searched without those safeguards being met, including instances where people just wanted to check on, to cite one example, whether his father was cheating on his mother, or in other instances, doing background checks on someone looking to lease an apartment that he owned and was looking to rent out. This is unacceptable, and we've got to fix it. Speaking of unacceptable, we have seen over the last few years the weaponization of government, specifically within the Department of Justice, against law-abiding Americans. Law-abiding Americans whose offense was something along the lines of, them exercising their constitutional rights, ranging from Catholics attempting to practice their faith, to parents showing up to school board meetings, to people showing up to engage in peaceful protesting outside of abortion clinics. As Attorney General, how will you prevent the weaponization of the Department of Justice against Americans?
And Senator, you just gave the classic example of what's been happening regarding the weaponization. Going after parents at a school board meeting has got to stop. For practicing your religion, sending informants into Catholic churches must stop.
What about branding parents as domestic terrorists or trying to incarcerate one's political opponent as a sitting president of the United States?
Will stop, must stop. Your Senator.
It is exactly the sort of answer I was hoping and expecting to receive from you, and I look forward to doing everything I can to help get you confirmed. I've been pleased with your answers thus far. I've enjoyed knowing you, considering you a friend for many years, and look forward to the great things you will do as Attorney General of the United States. You have my emphatic support and my vote.
Thank you, Senator.
There you go. There you go. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me. We are going to hear from Kennedy. We're going to hear from Hawley. We're going to hear with some of the. I'm saving the best for last. I was getting like the setup out of the way. The setup is out of the way. Now we're getting into the juicy meat of the heart. We're getting to the heart of the matter now. We're going to see her conflicting with Padilla. We're going to see her conflicting with Schiff. We're going to hear from Kennedy. We're going to hear from Hawley. We're coming to the best, and of course, everyone's favorite senator, Mazie Hirono. Those are the five I've queued up now. There you go. Look at that, Mike Lee. Mike Lee. That's right. Unaliving babies always at the top of the priority list. Well, I don't think under Pam Bondi that is. 1 finger ring is good. 2 finger rings, she's through the roof. 3 finger rings is a shocker. I don't know. Was it Mike Lee who brought the image of the sea serpents during a hearing? I don't remember that. That could be Wins. I don't know. And regarding the fourth branch comment, it's because they have blurred the line between the executive and judicial branch so much they want to be both. Yeah. Mike Johnson actually made a good decision today by moving Mike Turner from Intel Committee. Indeed, he did. He removed Mike Turner, who's one of the few people who what was it that he did that he voted on that I couldn't believe it. What was it? I'm doing something vile. Oh yeah, the censuring of Adam Schiff. That's right. When all the Republicans were like, we need to censure this guy for lying. He's like, no, I don't want to censure Adam Schiff. Generally, warrants not allowed is why FISA is unconstitutional. Yeah. He still has that new favorite senator smell. Hawley doesn't focus on J6s though enough. Like I said, he's good. But there's elements to his game that are disappointing. There's elements to his game that are disappointing. I'm not totally behind her due to her past 2A positions. I wish I had more confidence in her on that point. Okay, that's fair. That's fair criticism. Do you see Nancy Mace's challenge in the fight? Jasmine Crockett. I covered that I think that was like in the first 10 minutes of my show yesterday. I don't even know what you're trying to say. I have no idea. No, I'm confused. Confused by what you're trying to say.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You all won, Kennedy.
Bondi, welcome. Congratulations.
Here's your Kennedy.
Can we agree that legitimacy is important to America's criminal justice system?
Yes, Senator.
Can we agree that legitimacy is important to the Department of Justice, which in part administers our criminal justice system?
Yes, Senator.
And if Americans come to believe that our criminal justice system or our Department of Justice is acting illegitimately, that makes Americans less likely to accept the results of that system, does it not?
Yes, Senator.
And that makes Americans less likely to follow the substantive laws that we pass that are administered by the Department of Justice. Isn't that true?
Yes, Senator.
And if that happens, we have chaos, don't we?
Chaos.
And the social contract is breached, isn't it?
Yes.
Do you remember a person by the name of Michael Avenatti?
Yes.
Like Avenatti back in
Several years ago, he was a media star here, and
he was a media star who they were hoping was going to be running against him in 2020. And then he ended up being indicted in all sorts of issues with Nike and blackmailing. He represented Stormy Daniels at one point, and I think he ended up in jail. But that was shortly after Brian Stelter was saying, "I think he might be our next potential president."
Washington.
An attorney, correct?
Yes. He was a media star. And many members of our media loved him because he persistently bashed Donald Trump. And he was on TV every day. He was on CNN more than Wolf Blitzer. Do you know where Mr. Avenatti is today?
I believe he's sitting in prison, Senator.
He's in jail because he was a crook. And the Department of Justice helped put him there, didn't it?
Yes, Senator.
Do you remember a gentleman by the name of Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yes, Senator.
Boy genius. So smart and so powerful that he thought he could command the tides. So smart and so powerful and so rich that he would go to meetings with serious people like Bill Clinton, like Tony Blair, looking like a slob,
It's true.
looking like a
Homeless person.
fourth runner-up to a John Belushi lookalike contest. And he thought it was cute. Where's Mr. Bankman-Fried today?
I believe he is in prison, and I believe that's from the Netflix series I saw as well.
Mm-hmm. Because he's a crook. And who helped put him there?
The Department of Justice, Senator.
Can we agree that there's some really, really good men and women at the Department of Justice?
Many, many great men and women in the Justice Department, as well, Senator, as all the law enforcement agencies that fall within the Department of Justice. They're out there risking their lives, especially the law enforcement officers, every single day.
Can we agree, though, that there have been and may be today some bad people at the Department of Justice?
Yes, Senator.
We don't know for sure because for the last 4 years, the curtains there have been tightly drawn. But I think a minority of people there have delegitimized America's criminal justice system. The most destabilizing act that I saw in the past 4 years, maybe in the history of the department, is when Attorney General Garland decided on the basis of dubious facts and untested legal theories
Jack Smith.
to criminally prosecute a former president of the United States. And not only that, this is the special part. He decided to do it after the former president of the United States had announced that he was going to run against Attorney General Garland's boss, didn't he?
Senator, are you referring to going after a political opponent?
I think so. Now, this is one person's opinion. That kind of stupid takes a plan. And I say that because, number one, this is America. That had never happened before in America. That's the sort of thing that happens in a country whose whose Powerball jackpot is 287 chickens and a goat. It doesn't happen here. And I call it stupid because it broke the seal. It broke the seal. It normalized it. There are a lot of ambitious prosecutors in America, Democrat and Republican. And I'll bet you right now there's some prosecutor in a particular state thinking about, well, maybe I ought to file criminal charges against President Biden's inner circle for conspiring to conceal his mental decline. And that's the road we're headed down. And you've got to fix it, Counselor. You've got to fix it. And here's, in my judgment, what I would ask you to do.
But you see,
find out who the bad guys are and the bad women and get rid of them. Find out who the good people are and lift them up. But do it on the basis of facts and evidence and fairness. Because the temptation of some people is going to be, they're going to tell you, look, two wrongs don't make a right, but they do make it even. Don't resist that temptation. Help us restore legitimacy to the Department of Justice.
Thank you, Senator.
So what's interesting there is, you see, the message that he ended up going down is maybe a message that a lot of you disagree with, where he's basically saying, don't go after Biden, or don't go after his inner circle there for covering up for his mental decline. Now, I personally, on that particular issue, when it comes to the issue of people who covered up for his mental decline, I would agree. I don't think there's anything criminal in what they did there. That element of the Biden administration, I don't think there was anything criminal. I do think that there was criminal activity related to things that happened there in the Biden circle, which should be prosecuted. But that I don't think is something which was criminal. Let's start getting into some of the fighting, because I think that's what you all want to see. You all want to see some of the fighting, right? A bird in the bush is better than two hands in a bird. I don't know what you all are talking about. I don't understand. No one effed with Marco today. They all love Marco. They all love little Marco Rubio. They all love him. They all love him. So this is Senator Coons, Christopher Coons from Delaware, Democrats. You're going to see things start to get back to feisty.
Welcome, Attorney General Bondi, and to your family and supporters. Thank you for your service, and I look forward to our conversation today. I have a simple three-factor test when considering the executive branch nominees before us. Do you have the qualifications and experience to do the job, policy views to do the job in the best interest of the American people, and the character and integrity to conduct your job, and yours in particular, with the independence that the role requires? You demonstrably have the relevant experience. I understand we will not see eye to eye on some or even many policies, but we had a constructive conversation last week about our shared interest in fighting the opioid epidemic, countering human trafficking, criminal justice reform, and supporting law enforcement. But I need to know that you share a core value, ensuring the Department of Justice remains free from partisan or political influence, in particular by the White House. So I look forward to our discussion about that today.
And I don't understand this because, like I said, this is Trump's DOJ. It's Trump's DOJ. So really, when he's sitting here trying to say, are you going to be sufficiently divested from Trump? This is a joke. This is a joke. Merrick Garland was in no way divested from Biden, nor should he be. It's part of the executive branch. It's not the judiciary. You're on the Judiciary Committee, but you're talking to the top prosecutor, which her boss she answers to Trump. So it's sort of a ridiculous nature as to where they're going here.
As Attorney General, if confirmed, who would be your client?
My oath would be to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. The people of America would be my client. And it is also my job to advise the president. My client are the people of America.
A simple question of constitutional interpretation. Is President-elect Trump eligible to run for another term as president in 2028?
No, Senator, not unless they change the Constitution.
Thank you. One of the concerns I've raised with you is safeguarding the Department of Justice's independence in
They're
the
so afraid he's gonna run for a third term, a fourth term. They're so afraid. They're so afraid. Oh my God. They're so terrified.
face of some promises on the campaign trail by then candidate Trump that he would use the department to target his political adversaries, or that he might interfere with prosecution. What would you do if your career DOJ prosecutors came to you with a case to prosecute, grounded in the facts and law, but the White House directs you to drop the case?
Senator, if I thought that would happen, I would not be sitting here today. That will not happen, will not happen. Every case will be prosecuted based on the facts and the law that is applied in good faith, period. Politics have got to be taken out of the system.
I
This
agree with
department
you.
has been weaponized for years and years and years,
But let
and
me,
it has
if
to
I might,
stop.
thank you. Let me, if I might, Madam Attorney General, refer you back to Senator Durbin's opening comments about previous attorneys general, our former colleague, Jeff Sessions, Bill Barr. I don't think it's credible to say that it may never happen that the president-elect would direct an unethical or illegal act. I think both of those attorneys general found themselves crosswise with the then president by doing things he didn't welcome or approve of. Just answer the question.
That doesn't mean that Bill Barr or Jeff Sessions were correct in their interpretation of the law. See, just because they're saying he's asking me to do things that I think are illegal doesn't mean that they're right.
For me, if you would. I know you may not expect.
For example, one of the things we're continually talking about is from the 12th Amendment and talking about the whole issue as to the powers that Pence had on January 6, 2021, what rights he had, what powers he had there. Bill Barr disagreed with other attorneys. Does that mean that Bill Barr is right? No. It's actually an area of law that's never really been assessed by the court as to what the duties and powers of the president of the Senate are when he's sitting in that joint session of Congress presiding over that particular event. So Bill Barr has his own conclusions of law on it. That doesn't mean he's right. So you're sitting there saying, like, as if he's like speaking the gospel truth about constitutional law. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But they're trying to say, so now Trump wants him to break the law. No. Trump had attorneys who told him the law was different than what Bill Barr was claiming the law was. He's trying to frame it as if he's, I don't know, as if Bill Barr was reading from a Supreme Court decision, which he wasn't. Those lost homes in Altadena and other fires in LA, California recently. Contact Living Spaces stores, donating beds, show insurance, FEMA docs. Thank you. Appreciate the public service announcement. And Terry LaBeth, idea. Do the thing like in high school for the House and Senate for a live. Most likely to succeed. Class clown, most spirit, most corrupt. Oh. Most likely to succeed, class. Most spirit, most corrupt. It's an interesting perspective. It's an interesting suggestion. I sort of need to think about how to incorporate that. I think that takes planning, which I'm willing to do. It's an interesting idea.
I know you wouldn't have accepted this nomination if you thought it possible. But let's imagine that once again, President-elect Trump issues a directive or order to you or to the FBI director that is outside the boundaries of ethics or law. What will you do?
Senator, I will never speak on a hypothetical, especially one saying that the president would do something illegal. What I can tell you is my duty,
Nice.
if
Good
confirmed
answer.
as the Attorney General,
Good answer.
will be to the Constitution and the United States of America. And the most important oath, part of that oath that I will take, are the last four words, so help me God.
Given the importance of that oath, I hope you can understand the importance of repeated questions from some of us about the importance of having independence in the Department of Justice.
Why?
It has a long tradition of independent special prosecutors, especially to handle high-profile or often political cases. If you got credible evidence of a criminal violation by a White House official including even the president, would you bring in a special prosecutor?
Senator, that's a hypothetical. I can tell you what I do know is special prosecutors have been abused in the past on
Nice.
both sides. We
Go
have
get 'em.
seen that for many, many years. They have cost the taxpayers countless dollars, countless. And
Billions
I
of
will
dollars.
look at each situation on a case-by-case basis and consult the appropriate career ethics officials within the department to make
Estimated that Jack Smith cost the American taxpayer $55 million flushed down the toilet.
that decision.
Attorney General, do you think special counsels need to be confirmed by the Senate?
Yes. Yes. That's Judge
I
Cannon
will
said.
follow the law and I will consult with the appropriate ethics officials regarding the law. Right now, they do not need to be Senate confirmed, of
They-
course.
But you did sign an
They do need to be confirmed. They do. That was the problem with Jack Smith.
11th Circuit brief arguing that they should be.
I will follow the law, Senator. That's why I said that.
Understood.
So Judge Cannon removed Jack Smith saying you weren't properly confirmed. So now the issue comes with respect to the special prosecutor as far as get confirmation. You have to get confirmation for a special prosecutor. So, yeah.
But I was just getting to the clarity about the difference between a
Absolutely.
position you've advocated and what the current law is. Thank you for that. Look, bluntly, to me, refusing to answer a hypothetical when there is clear and concrete previous history.
It's not clear and concrete previous history. Because what you gave was an example that wasn't even an example because he wasn't trying to break the law then.
Raise some concerns for me. I think Chris Wray has done an outstanding job as FBI director
an
at
embarrassment.
avoiding political pressure.
Avoiding
And
political
although he
pressure.
was chosen by President Trump, he's being driven out so that he can be replaced. My perception, I've not yet met with Mr. Patel, by a loyalist who has publicly said he will do what the president asks him. Given that Attorney General Barr was asked to go find evidence of election interference and improprieties, went and looked for the evidence and said, I can't find any, and was then dismissed. I'm just going to ask you one last time. Can you clarify for me that in following ethics and the law, you'd be willing to resign if ordered to do something improper?
Senator, I wouldn't work at a law firm. I wouldn't be a prosecutor. I wouldn't be attorney general. If anyone asked me to do something improper and I felt I had to carry that out, of course I would not do that. That's one of the main things you learn when you're a young prosecutor is to do the right thing. And I believe that has continued with me throughout my very long career.
As we discussed, protecting American invention and innovation, American intellectual property, is a real concern of mine and of several others on this committee. I look forward to talking with you about that pressing concern. But the most important question I had for you today is whether you will be willing and able to stand up to politicization and interference in the Department of Justice.
Because you're a loser and an idiot. That's frankly what that issue is. Because you're a loser and an idiot. All right. Next up here. Let's go to Alex Padilla. Saving the juiciest ones for last. Alex Padilla. This got testy too. She starts yelling at Alex Padilla. Let's watch Pam Bondi yell at him.
Just want to remind us all for the record that the
Alex Padilla.
34
In case you wonder,
convictions-
Alex Padilla is the senator who I believe he's from California. I believe he's the one who replaced Kamala. He's the Democrat who replaced Kamala when she became vice president.
That indictments, convictions of former president, incoming President Trump were by a
He had so many corruption issues before he became senator. This guy is shady as all get out. You can even tell from his hair. Just look at his hair. Tell me he's not shady.
jury of his peers. Thank you, Ms. Bondi, for being here today. And I too would like to welcome your family and friends who are here.
Thank you.
Appreciated the opportunity to meet yesterday to learn about your priorities and discuss a number of issues that are important to me. But I got to tell you, as I reflected on our conversation yesterday and as I've observed the hearing today, I continue to have significant reservations on your ability to function as a truly independent Attorney General for your friend. Let's say you keep referring to him, your friend, President-elect Trump. So I hope you can address some of these concerns through your responses to my questions here.
No, I won't.
Now, the first issue area is something that we didn't get a chance to touch on yesterday. So I actually want to follow up on some of Senator Durbin's questions from earlier about the 2020 election. And to be specific, on the day after the 2020 presidential general election, you traveled to Philadelphia to appear alongside President Trump's then attorney, Rudy Giuliani.
Ooh.
And together,
Ooh.
you falsely asserted that President Trump had, quote, won Pennsylvania.
He did.
In that election. Now, I want to be clear. At that moment, there were still at least 1 million ballots left to be counted in Pennsylvania.
And somehow they counted another 2 million. That's the problem.
Of course, President Biden went on to win the state by more than 80,000 votes. But in the following days, even after the results were clear, you continued to double down on the big lie, promoting falsehoods about election fraud and cheating without offering any actual evidence. And I remember it clearly because I served as California Secretary of State at the time. And I invited anybody associated with the Trump campaign who was making these claims to come forward with evidence of irregularities in the election or massive voter fraud. 4 years later, I still have seen none. So I ask you today, do you have any evidence of election fraud or irregularities in the 2020 election?
I'm offended by this. It's totally true.
First Senator.
Yes or no? It's a yes or no question.
First Senator.
Do you have evidence? Yes or no?
First Senator. I'm so sorry about the fires to you and Senator Schiff and what you're going through in your states.
I love that. I love that. Respond to his ridiculous, unnecessary aggressiveness with this innocent blonde girl politeness. Oh, I love it. I haven't seen this, but I've heard about some of this. Oh my God, I love it. So good.
Do you have evidence? Yes or no?
First Senator.
Evidence? Yes or no?
First Senator.
So sorry.
I'm so sorry about the fires to you and Senator Schiff and what you're going through in your states. I have to say that.
I appreciate that.
All
My
of our,
clock is
I'll
ticking,
answer
and I
your
want to
question.
hear
All of our
your answer.
hearts go out to everyone in California for what you're facing right now. I'm glad you asked the question about Pennsylvania.
It's a yes or no question.
I was
Do
hoping
you have evidence?
someone
Yes or
would.
no?
Senator, I was hoping you'd ask the question.
Do you have evidence? Yes or no?
I traveled to Pennsylvania.
Do you have the evidence?
I
Yes
traveled,
or no?
Senator, to Pennsylvania.
Okay. You're not answering my question.
I am answering.
If you have no evidence to offer, let me ask you this. Will you now retract your previous statements that Trump won Pennsylvania in the 2020 election? Yes or no?
Oh, Senator, I traveled to Pennsylvania, and let me tell you what I saw firsthand.
Yes or
no?
no?
I didn't talk about California because I was not in California. I talked about
yes or no? Last time I'm going to ask.
I talked about Pennsylvania because
Mr.
I was
Chair,
there.
I'm going to move on because you're clearly not answering my questions. And I want to know, colleagues, for everybody, members of the committee and everybody watching, that the attorney who stood beside Mr. Giuliani was making very similar statements. And he has since been disbarred from multiple jurisdictions for making these false claims about the 2020 election in court.
That's not a statement about him. That's a statement about how sick the department is that he got barred. He got barred for representing a client. That's not a statement about him. That doesn't mean anything. That actually is showing the whole weaponization of the DOJ. That's what that is. Idiot. Incompetent boob. She's explaining how when she went to Pennsylvania, she was the one sitting there fighting to make sure that the election ballot watchers, the ballot counter watchers, that the GOP would be able to see. And they actually, and the corrupt orders, the way that the orders were being carried out, which they were told that they should be able to view, they were told that, hey, if you're 100 yards away, that's good enough. You're in the room. That's totally fine. So you want to sit that, and she saw that. She saw that in Pennsylvania. She was there in Philadelphia with my friend Ron Coleman. I remember this. She saw that. So she's like, you want to sit here saying that there's no corruption? You want to sit here asking me to say that everything was fine in Pennsylvania? I'm telling you right now, they didn't let the ballot watchers anywhere near. The GOP was shoved way back. And the court ended up saying afterwards, well, they were in the room. So what if they needed binoculars to actually see the face of the person who's doing the counting, much less zero chance of seeing the ballot? The law says they have to be in the room. They're in the room. Unbelievable. It was sickening what happened in Philadelphia. And she fought it. And now he's like, how dare you not say that do you have evidence? You haven't? Well, you know what? You shoved me far away. So what does that mean? Why would you be doing that? Tell me how that's not corrupt. But this guy himself is very corrupt.
And like Mr. Giuliani, as you've noted today, you've taken an oath to uphold the Constitution just as an attorney. And now you're asking us to consider you to serve as the chief law enforcement officer in our country. So it's imperative, Ms. Bondi, that you subscribe to facts and evidence and not politically convenient conspiracy theories. Your job.
It's not a theory when she was standing there and she saw what happened. That's not a theory. This guy's gonna get slammed. She's gonna come after him.
I'm speaking. Your job will be to.
Wow, you misogynist. I'm speaking.
Ms. Bondi, that you subscribe to facts and evidence and not politically convenient conspiracy theories. Your job will be, I'm speaking, your job will be to protect voters and election workers.
Is that a California thing? I'm speaking. Is that what it is? Because the only two people I've ever seen doing that are Kamala from California and her replacement, this clown here. I'm speaking. Idiot. Doofus. Let's smack this guy.
Not to undermine and dox them. Now, I know that earlier you agreed that Joe Biden is in fact president, but many of the president-elect's inner circle continue to spread the big lie about the 2020 election. Then we'll move on to a different topic.
Senator, you were speaking. May I speak? You cut me off when I was speaking. When I ask you the next question, you can
speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, no. That's ridiculous. You're not testifying here. I am.
We met yesterday.
Previous one, Senator.
When we met yesterday,
you pointed your finger at me and
you
said
did not
you were
seem
speaking.
to be familiar.
Let me answer my question. I'm not
going
to be bullied by you, Senator
the 14th
Padilla.
Amendment of the United States of America, which was deeply disappointing.
I guess you
And I'm
didn't want to
hoping
hear
you're more
my
familiar
answer
with it
about
today
Pennsylvania.
after I gave an opportunity to study overnight. So can you tell me and this committee what the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment says?
Senator, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed as
you're
Attorney
the one
General.
asking for a confirmation vote,
You
ma'am.
cut me off. Can I please finish?
What does the 14th Amendment say?
Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG. I look forward to, even given your remarks today, working with you and the people of California if I am confirmed as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America. I didn't take your homework assignment. I'm sorry. I was preparing for today.
So on the 14th Amendment, now you've
14th Amendment has 5 parts to it. 5 parts. That's what it has. Which part, idiot? He's trying to talk about Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. Doofus.
testified repeatedly to this committee that you will uphold the laws of this country and defend the Constitution of the United States. Do you believe birthright citizenship is the law of the land, and will you defend it regardless of a child born in the United States, regardless of their parents'
Oh, that's what he wants. He's trying to make sure the illegal aliens get to stay here.
Status?
Senator, I will study birthright citizenship. I would love to meet with you regarding
And
birthright
you're asking us
citizenship.
to
Can I
consider
answer
to
the
serve as the
question?
Attorney General of the United States, and you still need to study the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
What a stupid, what an idiot. What an idiot. Yeah, the black letter language of it, but then there's the application as has been applied by the court, doofus.
Constitution, that is not helping me have more confidence in your ability.
No one cares about your confidence because you were a stupid no vote before she sat down in the chair. So no one cares. You're sitting here as if like, oh, I'm trying to decide who I'm voting for. It's like I'm like a sitting member of the deal. I'm trying to decide. It's like he's walking into the ballot booth on election day trying to decide which candidate he's going to vote for. It's not helping me with my confidence. I'm sitting here trying to bully you for the last 10 minutes, and it's not helping my confidence. Oh, I'm sure she's very concerned about your vote. What's she going to do to get your vote, Senator? Please give me your vote, Senator. Sleazy, the voice lawyer vibe is strong with him. He doesn't sound like a good lawyer. A good lawyer doesn't sound like he's losing to the witness. So by this guy's accounts, if I see someone hit a home run that breaks a window, that's a conspiracy theory on what broke the window. Yes, precisely, K-Val. That's exactly right.
To do this job. What other immigration-related question? I'll steer clear of the Constitution
I have one
and the
regarding
law.
that. I'd like
Senator
to talk about.
Hirono asked you earlier, but I don't think you answered her question. Can you please tell us, do you agree with the statement that immigrants are, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, yes or no?
I did not say that.
I did not say that you said that. I'm asking if you agree with it, yes or no.
I did not say that.
Do you agree with it, yes or no?
My great-grandparents are immigrants.
Do you agree with it,
They
yes or no?
came here from Sicily
Do you agree
through
with it,
Ellis
yes or
Island
no?
when they were teenagers.
Do you agree with it, yes or no?
Senator, let me answer the question.
Yes or no? It's
My
real simple.
great-grandparents came here, immigrated to this country from Sicily, recently went and found each of their birth certificates. We are a nation made up of immigrants. Do I believe immigrants are poisoning our country? No, Senator.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I can't wait for the second round.
Same, Senator. Thank you.
Oh! I can't wait for the second round. Same back at you, bastard. Oh, that was so good. I can't wait for the second round. Well, they referenced Senator Hirono there. They referenced Senator Hirono. I guess we should go to Hirono now, right? That's what we should do. We should go to Hirono. Let's go to Hirono. What do you got for us, Senator Hirono? What do you got for us?
Ability to ensure the fitness of all nominees. I ask. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As part of my responsibility to ensure the fitness of all nominees, I ask the following two initial questions. First, since you became a legal adult, have you ever made unwanted requests for sexual favors or committed any verbal or physical harassment or assault of a sexual nature?
Hi, I'm Senator Mazie Hirono. A lot of people wonder whether I had a lobotomy, but I haven't. I was just born this way. Oh my God. Wow. Wow. Mazie, the amazing Mazie Hirono. Yes, my first question for Pam Bondi. Ma'am, have you ever been convicted of sexual assault?
No, Senator.
Have you ever faced discipline or entered into a settlement relating to this kind of conduct?
No, Senator.
She's such a doofus. She's such a I was yelling about this yesterday because she is. She's too stupid to sit there thinking on her own. She is reading off of paper. Oh my God. Wow, this person's so terrible. So terrible. I have like no respect for Hawaii that they elected this clown.
Ms. Bondi, I am focused on two things in my evaluation of President-elect Trump's nominees. The first is whether the nominee is qualified and experienced enough to do the job. The second is a fitness to serve, which includes putting loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to the president. Unfortunately, in my view, many of President-elect Trump's nominees are lacking in at least one of these two requirements.
Nobody cares what you think.
Ms. Bondi, your experience as a prosecutor is the kind of thing we would expect to see in a nominee for Attorney General, but I do have questions. and concerns about potential conflicts of interest, about whether you will keep DOJ's law enforcement responsibilities independent of the president's political whims, and about whether you will let facts and evidence guide your decisions. So let's start with the importance of facts, which you say is important. Ms. Bondi, we want an attorney general who bases decisions on facts. So,
and yet you confirm Merrick Garland, you clown.
I want to ask you a factual question. Who won the 2020 presidential election?
Joe Biden is the president of the United States.
Ms. Bondi, you know that there is a difference between acknowledging it and, I can say that Donald Trump won the 2024 election. I may not like it, but I can say it. You cannot say who won the 2020 presidential election.
Okay. All right. Because we don't know. It's that simple. We don't know. We don't have transparency. We don't have transparency. So, yeah, when there's a landslide, it's very easy for us to know. When there's a complete ridiculous landslide like we saw in 2024, that's not any concession on your part. And so I can say, big deal. The problem is that you have a lack of transparency in the 2020 election. I don't believe she even asked. I don't even believe her when she said she asked that. Go look up his scandals. There was a whole scandal with him before he was even Alex Padilla scandal. I forgot what it was. Here's a list of his scandals. $35 million contract controversy. While serving as California Secretary of State, he entered into a $35 million contract with SKD Knickerbocker, a political consulting firm known for its ties to the Democratic Party and Joe Biden's presidential campaign. Contract was for voter education outreach during the 2020 election under the Vote Save California campaign. Contract was criticized for its apparent partisan connections, especially given the timing during a presidential election. Concerns about the process of selecting SKD Knickerbocker, including allegations of lack of transparency and potential bias toward Democratic interests. Contract was challenged by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayer Association into a lawsuit seeking an injunction against further spending, citing the contract did not comply with state public contracting codes. California State Controller Betty Yee initially rejected the contract for lack of budgetary authority, creating significant public and political debate. Second one was his endorsement of John Durbin before his Senate appointment during his time as secretary. That was the one I think I remember. He endorsed John Durbin, who was running for re-election to the West Hollywood City Council. Came under scrutiny because Durbin was embroiled in a sexual harassment scandal involving the gay men's chorus of Los Angeles. That's less of a scandal. That's just more of him being an idiot. All right.
Okay. It's disturbing that you can't.
You're disturbing. It's disturbing that you managed to
give voice to that fact. Moving on to DOJ's independence from politics. Ms. Bondi, if you are confirmed as Attorney General, you will take an oath to the Constitution and not to any individual, including the President. To start, I'd like to know whether you agree with some of the statements President-elect Trump made during the election, during the campaign. First, are the felons convicted of breaking into the Capitol on January 6th hostages or patriots, quoting Trump, as President-elect Trump has said repeatedly? Do you agree with his characterization of the felons that I referred to?
Yes, most of them are patriots. But there's a few of them were CHS agents, so those were not patriots, but most of them, yeah.
I am not familiar with that statement, Senator.
I just familiarized you with that statement. Do you agree with that statement?
I don't know about the context.
I'm not familiar with it, Senator.
No answer. He has also said illegal immigration is poisoning the blood of our nation.
Yeah, illegal immigration. It is.
He said that in December 2023. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator, I am not familiar with that statement, but what I can tell you is I went to the border a few months ago. I went to Yuma, Arizona, and what I saw at that border was horrific, Senator. It was horrific.
Ms. Bondi,
I went to a rape crisis center.
That is
If I could
not my
finish,
question.
I went to a rape crisis center. Well, I'm not familiar with the statement, but I went to a
to
rape
the
crisis
next-
center.
Let
I
me
met
get to
with
the
Border
important-
Patrol
I have?
agents. I'm sure you've been to the
Ms.
border
Bondi,
as well. So
I
you
want to
could
get
answer
to my
that.
next question. So I believe that you responded to a question from Senator Whitehouse, and let me get your response again. You said that the White House, if I'm putting words in your mouth, correct me. Oh, you said that the White House will play no role in investigative or charging decisions in the DOJ. Is that correct?
Senator, what I said is that it is the Department of Justice's decision
She didn't say no role.
to determine what cases will be prosecuted.
What role will the White House have in investigative or prosecutorial decisions of the DOJ?
It is the Department of Justice's decision, Senator.
So that sounds to me that you're saying that the White House will not have any kind of role. Meanwhile, though, you have an incoming president who said, I have the absolute right to do what I want to do with the Justice Department. And in fact, President-elect Trump considers the DOJ to be his law firm. I ask you this. If President-elect Trump asks, suggests, or hints that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his proceedings, would you do so?
One of his what?
His proceedings, would you do so?
Perceived enemies.
Me, had you met
Ah!
gotten to
Now,
know me
It's not me.
and who refused
Let me see if I got a different. Let me see if I can find a better link. Sorry about that.
During that period of time, Senator Hirono.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I ask you this. If President-elect Trump asks, suggests, or hints that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his proceedings, would you do so?
I guess everyone lost
me,
the
had you met gotten to know
Now,
me
This is a
and who
different.
refused
This is a different link.
discussed is that it the Attorney General to
I'm very
follow
happy to
the
listen to
law.
your responses under oath, Ms. Bondi. So I think it's really important to us that the Attorney General be independent
Why?
of the White House. And you
Why?
have a president-elect who considers the AG's office his law firm. I would like to know whether if the president
He's the chief of the
suggests,
executive
hints,
branch.
asks that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived enemies? What would
Senator,
you
I
do?
certainly have not heard the president
This
say
is
that.
doing well.
But what I will tell you is 2/3 of Americans have lost faith in the Department of Justice. And it's statements like that, I believe,
Ms.
that make
Bondi,
people continue to lose faith. If I am confirmed as Attorney General, it will be my job
getting
to
on
not
to my
only
next
keep
question,
America
you're not
safe,
responding.
but restore integrity to that department.
Why don't we
And that's
move
what
on
I
to
plan
something
on
that
doing
you said?
every single day as Attorney General.
On August 25th, 2025, on Fox News, you said, when Republicans, prosecutors will be prosecuted, once the investigators will be investigated. Ms. Bondi, is Jack Smith one of those bad prosecutors that you will prosecute as AG?
Senator, you hesitated a bit when I said the bad ones. Every decision will
Sometimes
be
badness
made
in the eyes of the beholder. I'm just asking whether you would consider Jack Smith
Senator,
to be one of the people. How about Liz Cheney?
Is she part of the
Senator-
How about
DOJ?
Merrick Garland?
I am not.
Is Liz Cheney part of the DOJ, you buffoon? Is she part of the DOJ? Really? Idiot.
Not going medicals. No one has been prejudged, or nor will
I
anyone
am
be
asking whether
prejudged if I am
these are the
confirmed.
kind of people, these are in fact the people that you would prosecute. I'm not getting an
Your
answer.
time is up. Would you like to?
My time is,
Would you like to
Mr.
respond?
Chairman, she is clearly not going to answer that question, so let me get on to,
Would
Your
you like
I
to?
do have
I'd love to
questions for the second round.
You'll have a second round. Would you like to speak before I call on Senator?
They're so afraid. They're so afraid. Oh my God. Wow, they are so afraid. I'm sorry about that terrible connection. Here's another thing. I don't know if this is like better.
So that sounds to me,
Maybe this is better. This is just 50 seconds, but there's a quote here which I hadn't seen before. So this is also from Mazie Hirono. Maybe this we missed. I don't know.
that you're saying that the White House will not have any kind of role. Meanwhile, though, you have an incoming president who said, I have the absolute right to do what I want to do with the Justice Department. And in fact, President-elect Trump considers the DOJ to be his law firm. I ask you this. If President-elect Trump
just made that up.
suggests or hints that you as Attorney General should investigate one of his perceived political enemies, would you do so?
Senator Hirono, I wish you had met with me. Had you met with me, we could have discussed many things and gotten to know.
I am
you could
listening
have
to you
gotten to know
now.
me.
Could you respond to the question?
Yeah, you were the only one who refused to meet with me, Senator. But what we would have discussed is that it is the job of the Attorney General to
I'm very
follow
happy to
the
listen to
law.
your responses under oath, Ms. Bondi.
Oh, that was a bad glitch that got missed by PBS. I'll assume it was not a bad faith glitch. So she refused to show up. Interesting. She refused to meet. Pam Bondi offered to meet with her, and she basically said, "No, I'm not going to meet with you. I'm just going to ask you stupid questions under oath when I can try and hope I get some clip that my constituents are going to like, that my side of the aisle is going to like." We're going to hear from Hawley, and then we're going to do Adam Schiff, which that was some fire. I haven't seen the Hawley one yet, but let's check out Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, welcome. Congratulations on your nomination.
Oh, did I miss something here? Release the congressional slush fund payouts. Amen. This is a reference to the fact that Congress has a slush fund for paying off people who have credible claims against members of Congress for sexual allegations. For all those disparaging Hawaii, because Senator Hirono, Tulsi Gabbard is also from Hawaii. Fair enough. Fair enough. Goodbye, AG Judy Garland. We're losing Faye Ray and Judy Garland. Have fun in the next Democratic Clinton Circle J party fighting over who gets to go first. I see more virtue in a house of ill repute than in the Senate. It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all. They found you. Cheese it. I don't know what that is. C-SPAN, that's the master feed. I don't know. I think we got it. I think we got what we're looking for. Biden FCC messing with all the feeds today. Possibly. I just like to state how stunning and brave Hawaii is electing the first senator with Down syndrome. Will you misuse the Justice Department like we did? Essentially, yeah. I mean, White House meetings there were, like Fannie Willis's office. It wasn't just the DOJ that they were intervening with. They were intervening with state AGs. Embarrassing. What an utter embarrassment these Democrats are.
I'm so glad that you've been nominated, as we discussed when we had the chance to meet.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure to work with you as a state attorney general for a number of years, and I'm delighted to see you here today before the committee. I look forward to your confirmation. You will be confirmed. I, too, have taken note of the number of times you have been asked about weaponization of the Department of Justice as if it was a theoretical possibility that might happen in the future. One of my colleagues on the other side said, weaponization may well occur under your tenure. We all know that weaponization has occurred like we've never seen before in American history under this administration. And I want to get even more specific. In the last 4 years, this administration has carried out an unprecedented attack and campaign against people of faith. If you look at the numbers, we've never seen anything like it before in American history. It has been one of the most disgraceful chapters in the history of the Justice Department and in the history of the FBI. And I hope that you will reverse this and do right by every American citizen, including especially people of faith. Let me give you some specifics. After the Dobbs case was decided by the Supreme Court, over 100 pregnancy care centers and over 300 churches in this country were attacked, vandalized, firebombed. Do you happen to know off the top of your head how many prosecutions Merrick Garland's Justice Department brought in those cases?
I do not, Senator.
It's a stunning number. It's 2. Hundreds of churches, hundreds of pregnancy care centers. And I might just add, these pregnancy care centers, the attacks on them, which were violent, which were gruesome, were egged on and encouraged by rhetoric from members of Congress, including members of this body, who have said that pregnancy care centers aren't real medicine, that they're not real doctors. They have legitimized these attacks. And the same thing was true of churches. And this Justice Department couldn't lift a finger to defend these Americans. But at the same time, they used legislation, a law known as the FACE Act, to prosecute at least 53 different pro-life demonstrators, including people like Mark Houck from Pennsylvania, to whom this Justice Department sent a SWAT team to his door in the early morning hours. He has, I think, 7 children. In the early morning hours, an FBI SWAT team shows up at his door to take him into custody and prosecute him. By the way, he was acquitted. This kind of outrageous, disparate treatment has to end. So here's my question to you. Will you protect churches and pregnancy care centers when they are targeted for violence, when they are targeted for intimidation, when their members or parishioners are threatened with violence or other acts of illegal behavior?
Yes, Senator.
Will you stop the disparate treatment of Americans on the basis of religious faith?
Yes, Senator.
Will you stop the deliberate persecution of pro-life Americans for nothing more than their pro-life beliefs?
Yes, Senator.
Will you ensure that nothing like the Mark Houck case happens again, that Americans do not have SWAT teams arriving on their front doors with armed weapons to terrorize their children and their spouses, only in the end, of course, to have the case lost because there was nothing to it? Will you put an end to that kind of deliberate intimidation of the good American citizens on the basis of their religious beliefs?
Yes, Senator.
I'm glad to hear you say that because we need it. We need it. Ms. Bondi, we need a new chapter at the Justice Department, and we need it quickly. And I'm glad you're committed to it. Now, I also have heard you've been asked about your comment that you thought that in some cases we need to investigate the investigators, the ones who were bad. You know, I have to say, I'm glad to hear you stand by that. We need to do that. You need to do that. And I'll give you another example. I'm sure you've read about this memo, which I now hold in my hands. This memo that was developed by the FBI field office in Richmond, Virginia, 23rd January 2023, targeting Catholic parishes for spying, for recruitment of infiltrators. I mean, the memo goes on and on and on about the FBI's plans to put assets into Catholic parishes, into choirs. This is an unbelievable assault on Americans' First Amendment rights. And we only know of it because of a brave whistleblower who came forward and released it to us. And I will tell you, I have never been misled and lied to like I was by the current Attorney General and the now former FBI director when they sat right where you're sitting now and told this committee, oh, we don't know anything about it. Oh, only one field office was involved. It was the single work of a single field office and a very few individuals. As it turns out, that's not true. Multiple field offices were involved. Multiple individuals were involved. Under your leadership, will you put a stop to the use of FBI or Department of Justice resources to try and recruit informants and spies into Christian churches or any church or house of worship in this country on the basis of nothing more than faith?
Of course, Senator.
Let me just say this. To our knowledge, no one who was involved in the writing and performance, execution of this memo has been disciplined or fired. Will you conduct an investigation like you talked about, Ms. Bondi, that will get to the bottom of abuses like this? And to be clear, this is an outrageous abuse. It is an outrageous abuse. One of the worst abuses of Department of Justice and FBI authority in our history. Will you conduct an investigation to find out who signed off on this, who approved it, who advocated for it within the Department of Justice? Will you open the books on these abuses so that the American people can have confidence in their DOJ?
Senator, and I think what you're talking about is the ultimate weaponization, what we've been discussing all day. If I'm confirmed as Attorney General, one of the first things I will do, there'll be many, but I will personally read that memo. And if Mr. Patel is confirmed, discuss it with him right away.
Fantastic. And will you work with this committee and our relevant subcommittees? I'm going to chair a subcommittee called the Crime and Terrorism Committee. We're going to do our own investigation into what happened here at the FBI and the DOJ. Will you work with us as you discover the nature of these abuses, and as you put a stop to them, will you work with us to make sure the American people get all the facts and this never happens again?
And Senator, yes, I look forward to working with you and the Democrats. I would think this is something that we can all agree on both sides, that this should not be happening in the United States of America, and work together on it.
That's fantastic. Let me ask you one other question here in my just few seconds that are remaining. This memo targeting Catholic parishes repeatedly refers to as an expert source, a group called the Southern Poverty Law Center. Now, the Southern Poverty Law Center has a long history as an anti-religious group that has repeatedly gone after conservative and religious organizations, called them hate groups, called them sometimes terrorist groups. They're cited in this memo. They once infamously, the SPLC called the Family Research Council a terrorist hate group, and an armed gunman came into their lobby and opened fire. Will you put a stop to the use of the SPLC as an official source for any Department of Justice memorandum or finding?
That will be one of the first things we will look at as well, Senator, and report back to you and the committee.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank
you,
you.
Mr. Chairman.
Well done. Well done. And now, save the best for last. Save the best for last. That was, of course, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri. Clearly a Republican. One of the newest senators on the block. Man who we've seen in Congress seemingly forever, lying and lying and lying from the dumpster fire state of California. Now newly admitted as a senator. This is Adam Schiff, Shifty Schiff. Watch how Pam Bondi deals with him.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Bondi, as you know, the Supreme Court in Trump versus United States held the president has absolute immunity to commit crimes in certain core areas of the president's responsibility. One of those core areas is the Justice Department. So in a breathtakingly dangerous and irresponsible decision,
idiot, no, founded on the Constitution, because you don't care about the Constitution, you stupid clown.
Justice Roberts and the majority held the president can commit crimes using the Department of Justice and be immune from prosecution. Justice Sotomayor.
No, what they said is it's not a crime, idiot.
Sotomayor correctly said this new immunity lies about like a loaded weapon.
She lost on that decision. She's the minority. So doesn't really do anything what she wrote.
So the fear and the concern we have is that the incoming president will use that loaded weapon, that immunity, to commit crimes through the Department of Justice. And for that reason, it is all the more important that we have an attorney general who has the independence, the strength, the intestinal fortitude to say no to the president when it is necessary. So my first set of questions has to do whether you have the independence to say no when you must say no.
Let me explain something. I should have probably expressed this earlier. Okay. The DOJ is Trump's DOJ. They have a duty to uphold the Constitution. But he gets to set like what the direction is as to where they should focus. Now, sometimes you need to have a special prosecutor come in there when there's some sort of internal investigation into conduct that is surrounding the White House. Yes, there you're going to need, or involving the White House itself, there you're going to need a special prosecutor. And that's why that person is like a separate and distinct agency. And that's why they have to be confirmed. And that's why Jack Smith was not a real boy. He was just a wannabe, pretend boy. Or I guess we would call it a robot, right? He was just basically, he was plastic. He was a plastic doll, like rubber. Like if you stuck a pin in him, you would hear tss and slowly deflating. That's what Jack Smith was, because he didn't have the gravitas of being confirmed by Congress. Now, these senators who are desperately trying to say that they're separate and distinct, I don't know where they're coming from. Ultimately, who gets charged is the decision of the Attorney General. But Trump, there's no reason that Trump can't have a significant impact on most cases as to deciding which direction, where they should focus. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually fulfilling the will of the president, and he's the chief of the executive office, and they're an executive branch. They're part of the executive branch. He's the head, and he is the total right authority. Nay, he should be directing them as to like what areas are going to help further along the agenda that he thinks is best for America. That's the will of the people. Her client is the people. That's true. And the people elected Trump. They chose Trump. The people don't have an opportunity to go and talk to Pam Bondi and say, hey, Pam, yeah, I want you to start focusing on cracking down on this area of crime. No, they don't have that opportunity. You know who does? The president, because he's our representative. We voted for him so that he can make those decisions. And they're sitting here trying to pretend that there's supposed to be some Chinese wall between them. We're going to build up the whole Great Wall of China here between the White House and the DOJ. No, that's unconstitutional. That is breaching the Constitution. You're sitting here screaming about how there's an oath to the Constitution. Yeah, that's right. He's not allowed to tell her to break the law and breach Constitution. He too has an oath to the Constitution. He's not allowed to tell her to do that. But this misunderstanding as to what the role of the DOJ is. The role of the DOJ is to be prosecuting crimes and upholding the Constitution, not as some separate agency off in the netherworld here. They're not special prosecutors. They're Trump's DOJ. That's what they are. This has been Biden's DOJ. The corruptness is reflective of who he is as an individual and as a leader of this country. And this incoming, what Pam Bondi is going to be to the head of Trump's DOJ. So yes, she should be loyal to him. She should be fulfilling the agenda and focusing in areas that he thinks is where they should focus in. Certain types of crimes that he thinks is really important on. If he thinks that's really important to focus on illegal immigration, that's where the hell Pam Bondi belongs. If he thinks it's an antitrust law, that's where she belongs. If he thinks that it's in book burnings and freedom of speech in free speech issues, whatever area he thinks is where she's supposed to be focusing as far as the cracking down on crime, that's where she's supposed to focus. So them say, how dare he try to intercede with the DOJ? It's not intercede. No, he's their boss. He's her boss. He is the people. He is the voice of the people. We, 77 million of us, voted for him and made him our voice. So yeah, her client is the people. And you want to know where the people speak to her through? Through Donald Trump's mouth. Unbelievable. You're going to see like Nana Jurgensen is going to get on the phone with Pam Bondi? Excuse me, I really want you to focus on the fact that my neighbor over here, he's making loud noises in the middle of the night. That's who she's supposed to be responding to? Who's the people? What the hell does that even mean? People is President Trump. That's who we elected. We, the people, elected him. You don't like that so much, do you, Schiff? You don't like that. Not too happy about that, are you, Schiff? He is the people.
And you can say this is hypothetical, but it is not hypothetical. So let me start with one very specific non-hypothetical. The president has said Jack Smith should go to jail.
And he should. He should. For posing as counsel for the United States when he had no authority. That's first and foremost, right there.
Will you investigate Jack Smith?
Senator, I haven't seen the file. I haven't seen the
We don't. We also don't know what's going to happen over the next 4 days, whether or not Biden's going to pardon him, and I don't want to encourage him to do so. So definitely not going to say yes on that.
investigation. I haven't looked at anything. It would be irresponsible of me to make a commitment regarding anything without you're a long practicing attorney without looking at a file.
So you would need a factual predicate to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that
Not
right?
a summary by you sitting here. Yes, sir.
Nice.
And not a summary by the president either.
Not a summary by you. Not a summary by you. You're a nobody. You're a nothing in this realm. Nothing. Your vote doesn't matter. Nothing about you matters.
They're right.
Absolutely.
So a summary by the president or his desire to investigate Jack Smith would not be enough for you to open an investigation of Jack Smith. Is that right?
I will look at the facts and evidence in any case.
And sitting here today,
Senator, 72% of Americans
please, I only have
have
7
lost
minutes.
faith in the Department of Justice.
Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Sitting here today, yes, sir.
So afraid about protecting their boy. They're so afraid. No, she's not gonna commit to him anything, nor should she.
No.
Senator, I will look at the facts and the circumstances.
You can't answer that question.
Brought to me.
You're not a part of the department yet. There's no worry about divulging
I'm sitting
law
here as a
enforcement
nominee.
sensitive information. So just tell us,
I'm
are you
sitting here as a
aware,
nominee.
just tell us, are you aware of a factual predicate to investigate Jack Smith? Yes or no?
Senator, what I'm hearing on the news
Are
is
you aware of
horrible. Do I know if he committed a crime? I have not
You
looked
seem
at it.
reluctant to answer a simple question.
So I don't know.
Let me ask you a different simple question. The president also wants to jail Liz Cheney. Sitting here today, are you aware of any factual basis to investigate Liz Cheney? Yes or no?
Senator, that's a hypothetical, and I'm not going to answer that
No,
question.
it's not hypothetical. I'm asking you, sitting here today, whether you are aware of a factual predicate to investigate Liz Cheney.
Senator, no one
Based
has
on what
asked
you
me
know.
to investigate Liz Cheney. That is a
The president has
hypothetical.
called for it publicly. You are aware of that, aren't you?
No one has asked me to investigate.
But the president
Liz.
has
We're
called-
also
the
worried about
president-
Liz Cheney,
the
Senator.
president has
You know what
called
we
for
should
this-
be worried about?
Ms. Bondi,
The
please
crime rate
answer
in
my
California
questions.
right now
You
is
are
through
aware,
the roof.
Ms. Bondi,
Your
my-
robberies
Ms.
are
Bondi,
87%
my
higher
question-
than the national
my question
average.
is this.
That's what I
My
want to
question
be
is this.
focused.
And you're sitting here worrying about some Wyomingin. You're worrying about some Wyomingin. You're worried about some Republican Wyomingin. You're sitting here all of a sudden so worried about her. You got 78% higher crime than the rest of the country, and you're sitting here worried about freaking Liz Cheney. Idiot.
Senator,
Do you have the
if I'm
power to
confirmed
say
as
no to the
Attorney
president?
General.
And what you're suggesting today by your non-answer is you don't have the independence to say no to the president.
It's not I don't have any independence. It's that I agree with him, idiot.
So let me ask you a different question. It also requires you, if you're going to be a good attorney general, to be able to tell hard truths to the president. So my questions now are, can you tell hard truths to the president? So let me start with an easy truth that you could speak to the president.
2020 election.
Can you tell him that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election? Can you say that? Do you have the independence?
I cannot imagine a situation where that's going to be relevant to my job. So that's a ridiculous thing. So that's a hypothetical. I don't think she says that though.
To say that you have the gravitas, the stature, the intestinal fortitude to say, Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election. Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I
No, I'm
won't
just
do it.
asking you a simple
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any ongoing
to power, so
investigation.
let me ask you another.
Like you did
Let me-
leaking your
let me ask
colleague
you,
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer.
Oh, get him! Get him! He's a prosecutor losing to his superior prosecutor. Oh my God. Call him out. Call him out on leaking memos.
Donald Trump, you lost the 2020 election. Can you tell us that here today?
Senator, what I can tell you is I will never play politics. You're trying to engage me in a gotcha. I
No,
won't
I'm just
do it.
asking you a simple
I
question.
won't play
If you can
politics
speak truth
with any
to
ongoing
power, so let me ask you
investigation,
another.
like you did
let me-
leaking your
let me ask
colleague
you,
Devin Nunes's memo.
If you can't answer the question, let me ask you a different, what should be a simple truth, not a hard one. Was there massive fraud affecting the result of the 2020 election? Yes or no?
Oh my God.
Senator, I'm glad you asked that question. If you'll let me answer what I saw in Pennsylvania.
No, I asked
No,
a
I
simple
won't let
question
you answer.
about massive
I won't let you
fraud.
I can only tell you what I saw in Pennsylvania.
I know you want to answer a different question, but my question
No,
is,
it's that question.
can you tell us whether there was massive fraud affecting the results of the 2020 election? Yes or no? Was
I
there or
can
was there
tell
not?
you what I saw when I went
That's
as an
not my,
advocate
that's
to
not
the
my question.
campaign.
I don't wanna
So
hear-
you
I don't
can't
wanna
answer
hear
that
truth.
question.
I don't wanna
You
hear
can't
truth.
speak that even easy truth to us, let alone to the president. So let me ask you a different question.
It's not let alone to the president. It's that I agree with him that there was a lot of shady dealings going on there.
It will also be important that you give good advice to the president. Are you prepared to advise the president not to pardon people who beat police officers?
Senator, as I said, the pardons are at the direction of the president. We will look and we will advise. I will look at every case on a
Okay,
case.
so you'll
Let me
look at-
finish on a case by case
Okay,
basis.
okay, good.
And I
let me
abhor violence to police officers.
follow up with that. So will it be your advice to the president, Mr. President? I know you said you want to issue hundreds of pardons on day one. Will it be your advice to the president? No, Mr. President, I need to go over them on a case by case basis. Do not issue blanket pardons. Will that be your advice to the president?
Senator, I have not looked at any of those files. If confirmed, I will look at the files
And
for
will
the
you be able to
pardons, as
do,
well
will
as
you
the
be able to
ongoing
review
investigation.
hundreds of cases on day one?
I will look at every file I am
Of course
asked
you
to
won't.
look
So
at.
will you advise the
Hey,
president?
can I
will
answer
you-
the question?
Well, my question
I
is,
would have plenty of staff. You said, of course you want.
you'll be able to review
Listen, I'm
hundreds
not
of
going to
cases on the first day?
mislead this body nor you.
All right, let me ask another question. You don't want to answer that. Let me ask
You were
another question.
censured by
It will
Congress,
also-
Senator, for
it will
comments just
also-
like this that
it
are
will
so reckless.
It will also be important for you to
Yes, you were censured for comments just like this because you're an idiot. You sit there and you lie and you lie and you lie like a blooming lunatic.
to be able to preserve the records, the evidence of the department. Are you ready to commit that none of the evidence in the January 6th investigation will be destroyed under your watch?
Senator, I will follow the law. I will consult with ethical officials in the
Do you
department.
see any ethical basis to destroy evidence in the January 6th investigation?
No, you see,
Then why-
that's a stupid question because you have to tell us what the ethical basis is that's prohibited. That's what you have to basically say. You're saying, will you not destroy anything? You have to explain to her what provides your ethical basis for saying that none of it can be destroyed. Not that I want her destroying anything here. I just don't like giving in to him on anything.
Can't you answer the question? Why can't you say, I commit to this committee, we will never destroy the evidence in the January 6th investigation? Why can't you give?
Yeah, like as if the J6 committee hasn't destroyed tons of evidence already. As if they haven't destroyed tons and tons and tons of evidence already. Please, 40,000 hours that no one else can watch but them. And God knows what the hell happened to it. Stuff that they hid from the incoming Republicans when Republicans took over the House. This snaky, disgusting, awful human being.
This committee and the American people that assurance.
Are you frightened because evidence was destroyed against President Trump that was false? Is that why you're
Why do
frightened
you
now?
have
I can't
difficulty?
believe this is even,
Why do you have difficulty answering that question?
I can't believe
Why do you
you're
have
asking such a
difficulty?
question.
Because you're
Why do you
asking
have
stupid
difficulty
questions.
promising to preserve evidence at the Department of Justice? Why is that a difficult question?
I will follow the law.
It shouldn't be a difficult question.
Well, He does. He has less virtue than a streetwalker. Oh my God. He's so bad. That dude is so bad. Whew. Told you was gonna finish strong. Told you it was gonna finish strong. Wow. Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Alden's question of projection, confessing all they've done, fearing retribution, retaliation. Yep. Exactly right. The hunters have become the hunted. 4 days left. 4 days till it's now in my time zone in the eastern seaboard. It is January 6th, 16th. 4 days. 4 more days. Oh my God. Finally, the adults are going to be in charge. Finally, the adults will be in charge. Watching all these former lawyers turn senators, they must have really been crappy lawyers when they practiced. He was terrible. Oh my God. Schiff is 5'10.5" tall. Who knew that fear corn language from Senator Dipsh. All right. Pam, I will not destroy any January 6 records like Liz Cheney and the J6 committee did. Not that I'm saying I'm going to prosecute her. Not that I'm saying that. It was very important for her to avoid saying that she was going to prosecute Liz Cheney or that there's any reason to look at Liz Cheney because you don't want to give the old coot any more incentive than he already has to start throwing out pardon. What about investigating him? Investigating Schiff? I don't know. They were talking about trying to get him a pardon. He says he wouldn't accept the pardon. We'll see. I'll tell you right now, I fully expect he's going to try to pardon himself. And he's definitely going to pardon James Biden's brother. No question. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. The reason when we're talking about pardons, one of the reasons to think he may not issue these pardons, I don't think he likes a lot of these people. I think he dislikes a lot of these people. I think he dislikes a lot of them. I think he's really mad at all the people left behind. I saw a thing Nancy Pelosi saying in some tweet today that Joe Biden's presidency was historically great. People look back at it as great. I think she's trying to butter him up to start like sloshing around pardons. That's what I think she's doing here. Idiot. Anyway, that's the story. I need to wrap up here. I see that Kiki Lee was telling me that she might have extra tickets. I don't know. If you know you can help me get a ticket to inauguration, I would be obliged. You can hit me up at goodlogic@gmail.com or on X. Yeah, I'm trying to get my hands on them. So there you go. I'm going there. I'm going out to Washington, D.C. I just don't know if I'm going to get in. How is Schiff for Brain still a senator? What do you mean still a senator? He was a congressman. He just became a senator in November. He's a newly elected senator. He was in Congress. When you saw him and all those things and he was screaming about, we have evidence. I've seen the evidence myself that he's colluding with Russia and all those lies he told then. He was a congressman then. He was in the House. He just won his debut. He just got his debut term right now. He's been sitting as a member of the Senate now for 13 days. He wasn't a senator until 2025. I know it gets confusing. I'm not faulting you, but yeah, we got a long run. We got a lot more time with Adam Schiff, assuming God doesn't take him from us first. Pelosi pardon over Jill's dead body. Yeah, that's not going to come. But I think she's trying to butt him up to. I don't think she feels she needs a pardon. Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson might though. Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, they might need pardons. I don't know. Jack Smith might need a pardon. Anyway, that's my show. I'm sticking to it. Let me lay my plane. I'm coming in. I'm past the 3-hour mark. So you know that I'm turning into a pumpkin. Also, Lady Lawgic has been sitting here reading and can't sleep because I'm being too loud. So I'm going to be landing my plane relatively quickly. You know what they say about lab meat? It's gross. It's disgusting. It's awful. They, them, it's not for you. The bugs. Why would you eat bugs? No, why? No, I want to hear one good stinking reason why you eat. Why? Why would you eat bugs? Why would you do that? Like, how could anyone convince you? Like, how much of a sucker do you have to be to actually eat the bug? Don't eat the bugs. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. Plane's coming down so fast. Oh my God, we're hurtling in there. It's like people are they're bracing for the crash landing. They're bracing for it. They're bracing for it. Good night, my friends, and as always, Godspeed.